Welcome to Sun City. We're in Calgary for the CFL Live on TSN. The Stampeders led by their magic man, Doug Flutie. And when he puts it up, more than likely he'll go to the sponge. Slot back Dave Sapunjas. Saskatchewan Roughriders, Tom Burgess will put it in the air as well. And more than likely he'll look for future Hall of Famer. Slot back, you can call him Ray Elgard. Yes, it is. Put on the 15 block. It's the Roughriders Stampeders from Calgary. Calgary running back Tony Stewart has become the other big play man in the Stampeders backfield. Not only is he a threat as a receiver, he's also effective as a runner. So whether it be on the ground or through the air, he seems to always find the end zone 9 times this season.
Confidence-wise, playing, the coaches have confidence in me, my teammates have confidence, and I'm happy, and it reflects in my play.
You may not know him, but offenses do. Saskatchewan linebacker Ray Bernard, quickly becoming one of the CFL's rising stars. He's held his own against the CFL's best running backs and is ready for the challenge of Stewart and the high-powered Calgary offense led by Doug Flutie.
Primarily, we're going to figure out whether they're going to run or pass the ball, and if they run, I'm going to hit Stewart as hard as I can every play, and when it's passed, then we're going to have to worry about Flutie.
So it's Tony and Ray, Stewart, Bernard, Stampeders, Roughriders, in your face. Well, the good weather just seems to follow us around from Wednesday in Winnipeg to a glorious Friday night now in Calgary. Hello, everyone, and welcome to McMahon Stadium in Game 2 of a CFL triple play this week on TSN. And a special hello to viewers joining us here in Calgary. Stampeders owner Larry Rickman has decided to lift the local blackout, so we're glad that you get a chance to see the Stampeders, who are 5-1 this year. Their only loss coming to these very Roughriders in the opening week of the season, and it was a game they thought they'd give away. After leading 21-0, they lost 22-21. With more, John Wells, Leif Pedersen.
All right, Vic, Saskatchewan head coach Ray Yock says you need a little bit of luck to get by the Calgary Stampeders. He certainly had that in week 1. First, you have to deal with the awesome Stampeder offense, and secondly, you might need more than a little luck to get by this Calgary defense.
Well, John, I think a little bit of luck always helps when you play a #1 team like the Calgary Stampeders are. But, you know, when you look at the Stampeders nationally, everybody thinks Doug Flutie and their offense. And, yes, they're tremendous, but they also have a great defense. A defense, in fact, that has only given up 116 points in their first 6 games. How do they do it? Well, they do it with a fearsome pass rush, and it all begins with these 4 right here. Kenny Walker, in his first season, he's contributed 4 sacks already. Zizakovic's playing well, and in his 10-year career, Stu Laird has never played better. You throw in Will Johnson, who has been Mr. Consistency in that group, and that is a fabulous front 4. And what that allows the Calgary defense to do is only rush 4 people, play a lot of great zone defense in behind it, and they are truly a tough defense to beat. And I think Saskatchewan Roughriders, they really know it.
Here's the positive note for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They have now won 2 in a row regular season games against the Calgary Stampeders, but then the Stampeders are gunning for their 6th straight win of 1994. Vic?
Well, Calgary owner Larry Rickman is making news a couple of times. First of all, lifting the blackout. On Thursday, he drew his line in the sand when it comes to this franchise in Calgary, saying the deadline for getting a new sponsorship, working out an agreement with McMahon Stadium is September 15th. If you don't have it by then, we're going to move. San Antonio being rumored. We'll talk to the owner, Rickman, at halftime. John?
Season series on the line, Vic, and McMahon between the Stampeders and the Roughriders. Leif, what'll be the difference in this one tonight?
Well, John, I think as you look at these 2 teams, the Saskatchewan Roughriders cannot afford to fall behind early by a lot of points. Sure, they were behind 21-0 in Regina and came back to win, but they are smart enough to know that they can't do that for a second time and hope to pull out the same result. So for them, just keep the game close all the way through and have the chance to win in the 4th. I think that's the key.
Ready now for Ridgeway to get it underway at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Set to kick off for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Takes it deep. This is Coleman waiting for it across the 10. He's had some great returns in early games, lost the ball. And I think the Stampeders have recovered, luckily. Blair Zur coming up with the ball, number 36. So here comes Doug Flutie in the Calgary Stampeder offense. Flutie has been magnificent most of the year, hitting on 60% of his passes. He has fired 14 touchdowns.
I think to go along with those great passing numbers is the fact that he is the leading rusher on the team, contributing another 361 yards along the ground.
Zur and Stewart are the running backs when he uses Zur, and the receivers are great. We'll get to those guys in a moment, starting with a 5-pack now as far as the Calgary Stampeders are concerned. From the 33, here's Flutie to his right. Away from one, and fires complete to Will Moore. Moore has a first down across the 45, and here are the receivers that Flutie has to choose from. Will Moore and Pee Wee Smith are listed outside. Inside, it's Alan Pitts and Dave Sapunjas, and they'll throw in a little Brian Wiggins for good measure.
A solid offensive line that does a good job protecting for Doug Flutie, although Flutie so often makes them look pretty good with the way he is able to scramble around like he did on the last play.
A 15-yard gain, setting the Stampeders up 1st and 10 at the 48. This is Wiggins, away from one, and Wiggins will have another Calgary first down as the Stampeders are off to a hot start. Stopped by Suter.
That's interesting, John. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have 9 defensive backs with them in the lineup tonight, anticipating that 5-pack offense that Calgary uses, but already back-to-back first downs. And Doug Flutie, it doesn't matter how many defensive backs you put in there, he's going to find the open guy.
Now Stampeder first down at the Saskatchewan 44. Shotgun. Stewart gets the call, met almost immediately, but Stewart drags a couple of Roughriders for about a 3-yard gain. Ray Bernard in on the tackle, and here's the way the Roughriders line up defensively with Robinson, Brantley, and Gary Lewis, a couple of newcomers up front for Saskatchewan. Newcomers in the linebacking core too, with Miller, Bernard, Getz, and the veteran Bobby Jurison.
Yeah, in the secondary there you see it, but you're going to see 6, 7, and maybe 8 defensive backs tonight. Dale Joseph will come in, Terrell Ulmer may come in, and that's their plan to go against this high-powered offense.
And Joseph is in right now as the play is whistled down. Penalty marker far side of the field. Doug Flutie can't understand how a procedure call was suggested against his offense, but it was by referee Dave Ewell.
Illegal procedure. Calgary number 60, 5-yard penalty, second down repeat.
That's Bruce Covington, number 60. Tonight's starting lineups brought to you by Speedy Auto Glass. Windshield repair and replacements, a job for the pros, so don't take a chance with your car's windshield. Take it to the pros at Speedy Auto Glass.
And John, already what Saskatchewan has done is brought Dale Joseph, as you mentioned, in as the 6th defensive back. The linebacker, Peter Miller, comes out.
2nd and 12 facing Flutie here for Alan Pitts, and he can't make the catch. A little underthrown for Alan Pitts, and the Stampeders, after a couple of quick first downs, are forced to kick it away.
And that's what successful teams have done to the Calgary Stampeders this year on defense, is allowed them to make some first downs, but, you know, give them the passes underneath, make them put a lot of plays together to score points, and well, I think you saw that already. That is Saskatchewan's plan tonight. Let Pitts and the guys catch the out patterns, but make them put 6, 7 plays together to score points, because they think on 1 or 2 of those occasions they're going to miss a pass, and that's what happened.
Tony Martino averaging 43.1 yards a kick. Down for Ruffin at the 10, and he is met almost immediately by solid special teams coverage by the Stampeders. 36-yard punt, a 5-yard return. So Tom Burgess will get his hands on the football now. Burgess hitting on 55% of his passes so far. He's had some interception problems. 9 in total compared to 7 touchdowns.
And I don't think there's anyone more aware of the fact that the Roughriders are bad in the first quarter than Tom Burgess, and I think tonight he would love to get his team off to a good start. They have come out very lethargic in a number of games, and you know they've talked about that this week, that they've got to have a better start here in Calgary.
Riders begin at the 15-yard line with a first down. Nowhere to run for Mike Saunders, number 32. Led by Kenny Walker, number 99. In the Burgess backfield, Mike Saunders and Sean Daniels. And the receivers outside are Larry Thompson and Don Narcisse. Couple of good ones there. Inside, the veteran Ray Elgard and the improving Dan Farthing.
Only real newcomer to the offensive line, Chris Burns, a rookie, starting at the left tackle. And boy, it has been school is in every week for him as he has gone up against some very tricky defensive ends across the country. And boy, as a youngster on an offensive line, rather, do you ever learn under fire?
Penalty on the previous play against the Stampeders. Unnecessary roughness, so that brings the Riders out to the 30-yard line with a 1st and 10. Near side, it's Larry Thompson. Far side of the field, the veteran Don Narcisse. Shotgun for Burgess. He has time to throw, looks up the middle, and it was behind Elgard, who took a hit from Matt Finley.
And that's borderline roughing right there. No question about it. I think Matt Finley's very fortunate that he didn't get a roughing penalty called on him for the second consecutive one. Matt Finley back after a week off with an ankle injury. Raymond Biggs played for him last week. I thought he played terrifically, and that's can only benefit the Stampeders in their depth. Ray Elgard took an awful shot in the back there for really no reason at all.
Stampeders have a 6th defensive back in with Marvin Coleman in and Marvin Pope out. This is 2nd and 10, and here's the safety blitz. Near side, intended for Thompson. He was covered by Junior Thurman.
That's a great matchup tonight. Junior Thurman against Larry Thompson, both having tremendous seasons, and I really feel that Junior Thurman is one of the best one-on-one corners in the league. He showed it to us last week in their win over Sacramento, and that time, he's playing against the hottest receiver that Saskatchewan has in Larry Thompson, and he was all over him.
Stampeders looking for a little more from their special teams return guys. Last couple of games, the Stamps have been limited in their return yardage after about 3 games in a row when they really had outstanding field position.
Yeah, that's why they scored so many points in those few games. The last couple, they've been held a little short in their point production.
This is Coleman, far side of the field, looking for a block, can't get it, and he's grabbed by the first man upfield, Dave Van Bellingham, number 17. No scores so far in Calgary. Stampeders have the ball when we return to a perfect night for football in the Foothills.
Saskatchewan head coach Ray Yawk on crutches on the sidelines. And well, last week in Regina against the Escos, Mike Soles was pushed and rolled into the head coach, and he actually tore his ligaments, and that's why he is now on the sidelines on crutches. And backup guard Paul Vida has been given the job to now protect his head coach from any errant tackles that may be coming into the Saskatchewan Roughrider area. John, as you know, the coach told us that he's eventually going to have both of his knees replaced in surgery.
Yeah, he's had the problem for quite some time, and he has been thinking about knee replacement, but he's going to put off any kind of surgery until after the season. He's in a great deal of pain at times, and was so yesterday, but he seems to be all right today.
You know, John, I spoke to the trainer of the Roughriders, Ivan Guthrie, this morning, and I said, just how gritty a performance was it of Ray Yawk to stay on the sidelines last week? And he said, I cannot believe he did it. He was in such terrific pain.
Here are the Stampeders with a 1st down at the 39-yard line. Roughriders have 6 defensive backs in as Flutie rolls to his right and finds Sapunjas. He's met quickly and stopped well short of the 1st down by the 6th DB. It's Dale Joseph, number 21.
That's the old sponge get open pattern. When he is the 3rd receiver in that trips formation, the 3rd receiver means he's the closest to the offensive tackle. He has an option. It's, hey, Dave, you just do whatever you have to do to get open, and Doug Flutie says, I'll follow your lead.
8-7, this is 2nd and 3. Stampeders out across the 45-yard line. No score so far, McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Flutie hands off to Tony Stewart, and he'll have the 1st down. Good move by Stewart to get away into 1st down territory. It was Aaron Rufflin, number 33. 6 tackles last week, coming up with his 1st tonight.
By Tony Stewart, what an addition he has been when he's been called upon to run the football. He's averaging about 4.7 yards a carry. Here he is. Watch the move here, and then as he goes outside, but here's Dale Joseph. Watch Joseph try and come up and break down and make the play, and Tony Stewart will leave him standing in his tracks right there. That is some kind of move.
7 yards for Stewart. Now the Stampeders have dual running backs in with Zur in the backfield. This is Stewart again, tries the outside, and there's room out there for Tony Stewart. Upended by Benson Donaldson, number 24, but a good move by Stewart to take it to the outside.
And what happens to Peter Miller, the outside linebacker for the Roughriders, is that he gets caught up in the wash inside, and he just can't get out to be the contain on that. There, Stewart sees it. He sees a linebacker trapped, and now he, once again, second play in a row, is able to break it to the outside. And well, just when you're thinking, okay, pass, 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 all of a sudden, back-to-back solid running plays for the Stampeders.
It's run, 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 and a 21-yard gain for the Stampeders there. Now set up at the Saskatchewan 36 with a first down. Flutie over the middle for Stewart, number 36, and he'll be very close to a first down. Should have it.
Blair Zur does not get to touch the football too many times. In fact, only 10 so far in 6 games, both rushing and receiving. And this time a little circle out of the backfield is Ray Bernard, the middle linebacker. You see him takes his drop. Flutie just throws it right in front of him. Who's there to get it but Blair Zur? And boy, a couple more catches tonight and he'll be overworked.
Yeah, absolutely. Not many receptions on the season. That was his 5th. 8 yards the game, making it 2nd and 2. Inside the 30, here's Stewart. And he'll have the first down as he gets inside the 25. Stopped by Gary Lewis, number 79, a 4-yard gain. And Getz was also in on the tackle, number 47.
Well, Alan Pitts and Anthony Drawhorn are going to have some fun tonight. Drawhorn, an All-Canadian, so is Pitts. And tell you what, Anthony Drawhorn's not nearly as big as Alan Pitts, but he will come up and take you on. And he's a very physical inside halfback. And well, Alan Pitts will know that. Anthony Drawhorn will not play soft on him tonight.
5 receivers in for the Stampeders, meaning 6 defensive backs in for the Roughriders. Far side of the field. It's Pee Wee Smith away from the first wave and finally forced out. Drawhorn was over to cut down the angle, but not before he picked up 13 yards. And Pee Wee has his first catch of the night.
And usually the key is the initial block that you get on the corner on the wide receiver screen. And watch number 82, Will Moore, right there. He gets the key block on Drawhorn, who's trying, or Albert Brown rather, who's trying to force it. And then with his speed to the outside, Pee Wee Smith, but it's the first block that can open it up, and Will made it for his buddy Pee Wee Smith.
That was the 7th play of the drive. The Stampeders with a 1st and 10 at the Saskatchewan 12. Flutie from the shotgun. Looking over the middle. And can't find Alan Pitts. Anthony Drawhorn, number 7, covering on Alan Pitts.
You see Anthony Drawhorn, he will let you know if he's having a good game. One of the more talkative defensive backs in the league. And this is a tough assignment to go all the way across the field with Alan Pitts, but pretty good speed by Drawhorn. He's right there to apply the hit when the ball arrives. And boy, this was a key trade for Saskatchewan in the offseason, acquiring Anthony Drawhorn to the Ottawa Roughriders.
2nd and 10. Stampeders at the Roughrider 12. No score so far at McMahon Stadium. And it looks like Flutie ran out of time. Looked like the Roughriders were ready to give him a bit of a charge.
Calgary number 59. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That's twice for the Stampeders. Procedure calls tonight.
May not matter, it just gives them a little more room to operate down there.
6:04 to go in the opening quarter. This is 2nd and 15. Ball back to the 17-yard line now. 5 receivers in for the Stampeders. Flutie. And no catch down at the 1-yard line. Ruffin was covering, and Will Moore was the intended receiver.
Well, it's the second drive that Doug Flutie's put a pretty decent drive together and come away without the touchdown. Chances are, the way Mark McLaughlin's kicking, 10 of 12 coming into tonight's action, that they'll get a few points out of this. But once again, in the games that we've seen Calgary, the longer you keep Flutie off the scoreboard with the touchdowns, the more he becomes a little frustrated. The other guys on offense get frustrated, and before you know it, Saskatchewan's in a real good game.
Mark McLaughlin has hit on 83% of his field goals so far this season. And he's 100% so far tonight as the Stampeders move out in front of the Roughriders 3-0 at McMahon. This is the CFL Live on TSN. They want to forget is the Western Final right here.
Well, it was a tough one. Everybody felt that Calgary was going to be in the Grey Cup last year, but surprise, surprise. Now, you talk about our game in Baltimore tomorrow night. Wally Buono and I sat down for about an hour yesterday and watched some Baltimore tape of their offense, and Tracy Ham, why is he back in form? The confidence is back. They've got an exciting offense, and you know, you and I are looking forward to getting down there and having a look.
Check out the numbers in Wally Buono since 1990. Moving right up there amongst the top coaches in Canadian football with winning percentages. He's in very select company already. And closing in on Hugh Campbell.
You know, you look at head coaches and what makes one better than the other. And I think when you analyze Wally Buono, I think it's just his organizational skills. He lets his assistants coach. They all have a defined role. And there is no mistaking what he wants from his players. There's no gray area. Everybody knows what's exactly expected from them by the head coach. And I think that's one reason why he's so good.
From the 35, it's a first down. Here's Burgess escaping out near the 46-yard line. A gain of 6. He was pinned there by Alondra Johnson.
And I think that's a solid move for Tom Burgess initially, because as we mentioned in the opening, the Calgary Stampeders only like to rush 4 people. That will create some openings for the quarterback when the linebackers drop off, and if he doesn't see something good early, it's a good decision for him to run. Yeah, the only trouble is you run into Big Daddy and Alondra Johnson every once in a while, and that can hurt.
On second down, Burgess is off target, intending that for Ray Elgard. Elgard hasn't caught a pass tonight, neither is Alan Pitts. That's an interesting story. At this stage of the opening quarter, 4:42 to go, with the Stampeders out in front of Saskatchewan 3-0.
You know, as you saw that pass play, number 37, Matt Finley, the linebacker, was right with Ray Elgard, and I think as a defense, Calgary does that as well as any in the league. Their linebackers getting a hit on inside receivers, just knocking them enough off their pattern that it's tough to complete passes to them.
Brett Manich has a fine average so far in 94, 44.6. That's number 1 in the CFL through 6 weeks. Bouncing to Pee Wee Smith, he has trouble with it inside the 20, and there's nowhere to go when he finally gains control. 3 yards the return. The punt traveled 52 yards, and leading the Saskatchewan tacklers, Dallas Raisevi, number 30.
Thanks to Larry Rickman. The people that aren't here tonight get a chance to see the game with the blackout being lifted, and obviously the premise behind that is to expose some more people in Calgary to this fine team, and hopefully down the road that they'll come out.
Stampeders have a 5-pack of receivers. Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 6-pack of defensive backs. Sapunjas makes the catch, and it'll be a Stampeder first down. Dave Sapunjas stopped by Albert Brown, number 4. The gain is 19.
Dave Sapunjas, all he does is clear Dale Joseph. They're in a zone coverage, and no one's better as an inside receiver in the league than Sapunjas at reading it, and that becomes very easy. What Joseph has to do, if he's going to play zone, is at least get a bump on Sapunjas when he goes by, try and slow him down a bit.
4 touchdowns in the season for Dave Sapunjas. Another first down for the Stampeders. Out at the 39 as Stewart gets the call, and he's been running well. To the outside again, Tony Stewart. And the Roughriders can't bring him down. Ron Getz finally gets over to make the tackle. There's a penalty marker back near the 45. 19 for Stewart. He had a carry for 21 just a little earlier. Referee Dave Ewell talking it over with his officiating staff.
Holding, Calgary number 25, half the yards gain, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Sapunjas got caught. Here's a closer look.
He's been covered by Dale Joseph that time, and Joseph has a chance to make the play. I think you saw the hook come out right there, and referees were right there to call it. It's too bad. It was a lovely-looking running play by Tony Stewart.
Well, it's after the first down, so it will be 1st and 10 Stampeders. They'll take it back 9 yards after the 19-yard gain. Stampeders at the 40. Flutie swings it for Brian Wiggins. Wiggins away from 1, and he's out for a first down near the 50. Ray Bernard, number 95, got to Brian Wiggins.
That's a good-looking pattern back to the weak side, and Ray Bernard has to come a long way to try and make this play, but Tony Stewart gets the block at the point of attack, and that's all you need to allow Wiggins downfield. He's got, I believe, a first down, but for a middle linebacker, that's a long way to go to try and make the play.
They just measured, and it is a first down. Ray Bernard couldn't quite prevent that, but he did make the tackle.
It is a
2:59 to go in the opening quarter with the Stampeders in front, 3-0. Calgary has controlled the ball game, but so far just 3 points on the board.
Well, the good thing that Saskatchewan's doing is they're keeping all these patterns underneath the coverage. No big plays.
6 defensive backs in for the Roughriders. The call is Stewart again. He's running at will. Inside the 45-yard line to about the 44. Another 15 for Stewart before he was stopped by Glenn Suter, number 27.
And here's what's happening. Once you start thinking pass, you get the Roughriders coming upfield, and then watch the lane that's created right in there for Tony Stewart. Roughriders thinking pass, and in man-to-man coverage, they run, the receivers are running the defensive backs off. That leaves a huge gap for Tony Stewart to come through. All you need is the block on the middle linebacker, and they got it.
Tony Stewart, 6 carries, 69 yards so far, and Flutie is eating this Saskatchewan defense up right now. Low snap, Flutie has trouble with it, and got away from the first charge, but not the second player coming in. It was Ron Getz, number 47.
Well, I think that's what Ray Yock talked about yesterday, John. Sometimes you have to be very lucky when you play against Calgary, and just as Calgary puts a beautiful drive together, a mistake cost them some yardage, and yeah, that is kind of lucky. Ron Getz makes a good tackle, but you know, a mistake now cost Calgary a lot of yardage.
Flutie was lucky to get away from Jurison, but he couldn't avoid Ron Getz, who's having a superb year.
Yeah, he is. You talk about people coming over from Ottawa. He came over in that trade, too, and he's been brilliant for them.
Kind of, folks, 7 defensive backs in for the Saskatchewan Roughriders now on 2nd and 19. Flutie under the cover, and Wiggins makes the catch, but he stopped well short of the first down at about the 41. And that's what made the tackle, 13 yards the game.
Sorry, John, that's exactly what Saskatchewan wants to do. That's the situation. 2nd and 20. Hey, doesn't matter if you give them 18 yards, they come up short. So Brian Wiggins is waiting all day for the ball. Look, sure, he's wide open, but then they react. Here comes Ruffin. Here come the rest, Donaldson, the whole group, and the result is they're 5 yards short. That is good defense, knowing the situation. 2nd and 20, keep them underneath it.
Here's Mark McLaughlin, good on his first field goal try of the night. This will come from the 47. And he's there, but not by much. McLaughlin is 2 for 2, and that's the Stampeder advantage as it stands right now, 6-0.
Well, he doesn't get as much work as most kickers around the league because his offense has been so good this year, but he has been remarkable when called upon. Now 12 of 14, and well, he stretched that one right out. He wasn't sure until the last possible second. And Flutie knows the value of having a kicker like McLaughlin.
Yeah, he hasn't been called upon with all the Stampeder touchdowns that have been scored. 10 of 12 coming into the game, as you mentioned. He has kicked 29 converts, however, meaning the Stampeders coming into the game and scored 29 touchdowns. Larry Thompson near side. Don Narcisse far side of the field. Burgess for Saunders. And it's tough to run against this Stampeder front four. Stu Laird is in there. And Lubo Zizakovic.
Mike Saunders, number 32.
Ray Yock is as animated on the sidelines as I've seen him, John Leaf. And what he was talking to Tom Burgess about Leaf was watching for the drop of some of the tackles and then go to the weak side, figuring that maybe if they drop off, that might be the area to exploit on the weak side of the Stampeders defense.
All right, Vic, on 2nd and 8. Frears is in, meaning Stu Laird is on the sidelines. Extra defensive back for the Stampeders. Now Burgess has it batted away. And who comes up with a loose ball? Is Burgess in the throwing motion?
Will Johnson got the tip on Burgess' arm. Now whether he was in the throwing motion remains to be seen. Roughriders do recover the football, however, but you'll see Will Johnson just blowing by Dan Payne at the top, or rather Chris Burns at the bottom. I'm sorry, but Burns could have been called for holding there as well, but that's why the ball came loose.
3rd down, Matic in for the Roughriders. 2 deep for the Stampeders. Matic across the 30. Coleman tries to field it on the dead run. He didn't have anywhere to run with it, though. Couldn't get up. No return. Decent kick for Matic. And the Stampeders are first down when we come back to McMahon Stadium to begin the second quarter. 6-0 Calgary. This is CFL Live. 3 net yards, 69 rushing. As Tony Stewart had a pretty good first quarter. Penalties favored the Roughriders and no turnovers, but the time of possession is rather significant.
Well, I think the key thing, though, John, is coaches don't really care about the statistics. The wins and losses are really all that matters. And although Calgary had a lot of yardage for the opening quarter of play, they only got 6 points, and that's the good news if you're the Regina team.
Alan Pitts makes the catch. Anthony Drawhorn the tackle immediately. And we'll see where they spot it, but I think Pitts was out over the first-yard area. He has a gain of over 10 yards.
On this matchup, one of the weapons that Pitts has is just his size. You know, this is reasonably good coverage by Drawhorn, but just the fact that Pitts is 6'3" and over 200 pounds, and Drawhorn's pretty small defensive back, he can't get around him to make the play, and it's pretty solid coverage, but Pitts is so tough.
First and 10 Stampeders just across the 45 as Flutie stands in and fires another strike. This to Will Moore, number 82. Nice crossing pattern, and Ruffin, number 33, Aaron Ruffin made the tackle.
Aaron Ruffin, number 33.
Once again, the Calgary Stampeders moving rather easily down the field, and
First and 10 Stampeders.
Will Moore, it's nothing more than man-to-man coverage. Glenn Suter, the safety's free. He's trying to get over to help out, but the receivers from Calgary run such precise pass patterns, it's just too tough to cover them sometimes.
That was another 12-yard gain, and Flutie winds up and fires again to Alan Pitts. Slowed from behind and stopped near the 35-yard line. Substantial gain for Calgary one more time. 6 defensive back Dale Joseph, number 21, in to finally make the stop on Alan Pitts.
Yeah, nothing really different about this pattern except it's a zone coverage. Once Drawhorn leaves him, Pitts knows it's zone now, so he's just settling down, running about a half speed, find the open area. These Calgary receivers, they understand defenses so well that a couple yards off the line of scrimmage, they have it figured out.
Flutie has moved the Stampeders quickly into Saskatchewan territory. Stewart breaks one tackle and then another. Tony Stewart inside the 15. Suter slowed him down, and Dale Joseph finally brought Tony Stewart down. He's had a whale of a ball game already. Tony Stewart.
If there's one area that Doug Flutie has been able to get better and better at every year, it's that he's far more patient. You know, he wants to go downfield right here, but he just pulls the trigger back and then dumps it off to Tony Stewart, and, you know, easy ball to complete. And rather than take a chance at an interception, he's willing to throw the shorter pass and hope that his receiver or running back can make a solid run after the catch, as Tony Stewart did right there. I think that's one reason why he's only thrown 8 interceptions this year and 14 touchdown passes.
Another 21 yards for Stewart receiving there. 90 total yards for Stewart overall, and we're just early into the second quarter.
And this is a player that Saskatchewan can ill afford to lose. Aaron Ruffin is a rookie, but he sure doesn't play like a rookie. He had a big interception last week against the Argonauts. He's had an interception for a touchdown so far this year, and although he is young, he has played like he has been around for a long time, and they need him tonight.
He spent a little time on the Stampeders practice roster. Aaron Ruffin, number 33, first full year in Saskatchewan.
All right, stop!
First and 10 Stampeders.
These girls usually get tired here in Calgary. They always have a lot to cheer about here.
Absolutely.
That's good when the cold weather comes. You stay warm.
Good point. Here's the drive, beginning at the 33-yard line. 5 plays to travel 64 yards thus far. And Flutie dearly wants to put it in the end zone this time, after having to settle for a couple of field goals earlier. Flutie shotgun. 4 receivers near side. Flutie goes to the man underneath. Brian Wiggins. Wiggins stopped at the 4-yard line. Submarine down at the 4 by Anthony Drawhorn. Flutie is picking the Roughriders apart.
Well, they're doing it with a good scheme, too. I mean, there's 4 receivers clearing out deep, and all Brian Wiggins does is just run out into the flat. Flutie gives it to him quickly, and that allows him some room to run with it afterwards. But, I mean, that is a very difficult pattern to cover. 4 guys going deep, and you sneak a guy underneath behind them. That's tough.
And just what the Stampeders needed, a gain of 10 for a first and goal situation at the 3. Wiggins in the backfield, and he's stopped at the 1-yard line. Good defensive play. As Ron Getz, number 47, made the tackle. It's a little different. Wiggins coming out of the backfield and taking the handoff.
And there's no question, Ron Getz is a linebacker that loves to stick his head up into the hole and make the play. And here he goes helmet to helmet with Brian Wiggins. And as a wide receiver, and Wiggins showed me some fortitude as he was willing to stick that head in, square the shoulders up, and try and get into the end zone.
Suter also helping keep Wiggins out of the end zone. It is 2nd and goal to go Calgary at the Saskatchewan 1. Stopped. Another solid defensive play by the Roughriders. Robinson was right there, number 98. And there's a marker. See who the penalty is against.
Well, Ray Bernard, you know, he's just relaxed there. All he has to do is just read the tailback. Wherever the tailback goes, he's going to go in those short yardage situations. He didn't make the play right there, but that's his key. Wherever Stewart goes, he'll go.
Penalty against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that'll give the Stampeders 3 cracks at it from the 1-yard line. Offside, Saskatchewan. Pretty tough to keep the Stampeders out of the end zone here with 3 cracks at it from the 1. Flutie, a little option, and it's wide open. Tony Stewart. That's touchdown number 10 for number 21. Tony Stewart, the number 1 touchdown scorer in Canadian football so far this season, gets his 10th here.
10 touchdowns, that leads the league. Doug Flutie, the little option, and Brooks Findlay, as soon as he makes a move at Flutie, Flutie pitches it, and for Tony Stewart, yeah, you see how easy that one was. That's a beautiful drive.
7th rushing touchdown for Tony Stewart. An impressive drive by the Calgary Stampeders, and that's the first touchdown of the ball game. Calgary in front of Saskatchewan, 13-0 at McMahon. Lots to celebrate here in Calgary. Stewart had 6 starts for the Stampeders in 1993 and won the job in 1994.
Yeah, of the 10 touchdowns he scored, maybe this one was the easiest. Flutie's going to come down the line of scrimmage. Now let it roll just a little bit, and then we're going to freeze it and show you what happens. Stop it right there. Hey, there's Brooks Findlay, the linebacker. As soon as he makes his move at Flutie, the pitch comes in. Brooks Findlay has no way he can get out to Stewart. There's nothing that Brooks Findlay can do that is right. If he goes to Stewart, Flutie cuts up, and then he scores. So, you know, you play a game with the linebacker. Here comes Flutie. Now you make the decision. Hey, Findlay goes after him. I make the pitch. Stewart scores. For the linebacker, they play a game with the linebacker, and really Findlay 97 can't do anything right.
Tony Stewart is the all-time leading rusher in Iowa. Ironically, he was replaced in his job when he moved on by Mike Saunders, who's rushing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders tonight, number 32.
Well, it sure makes the decision by Wally Buono at the beginning of the season look good when he released the veteran Kevan Jenkins before training camp and said, we're putting all our eggs in one basket. We're going to go with Tony Stewart.
Stewart has really proved himself. I mean, he's been a solid rusher, but he's also been a great receiver with 20 catches, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns coming into this game. Here's Thompson. And some great moments for Saskatchewan already this season. Alondra Johnson leading the Calgary tacklers to Thompson out about the 27-yard line. Pretty quick scoring drive, 8 plays to cover 77 yards, and Stewart finished it off.
And this is what we talked about, is the difference in the game, John, that the Saskatchewan Roughriders could not let Calgary build up a big lead as they did the last time they played this team and hope to come back. They're just not that kind of offense. They're a methodical offense. They like to grind it out with their passing game, but they're not the big play offense yet. So at 13-zip, this is a stern test for them.
Burgess on first down, throwing on the run, near side. What a great catch by Larry Thompson going out of bounds. He has been sensational for Saskatchewan. 27 catches, 518 yards so far.
Yeah, 4 100-yard games in the first 6. That's been pretty phenomenal, and what a recovery he has made from the bullet he took in the leg a couple of years ago. And what I like about Larry Thompson as much as anything is he's got speed, but he doesn't have to break down to make his cuts. He is so fluid when he runs, and that makes the speed that he has even a bigger weapon.
Burgess on first down. Look for a man over the middle. He's picked off by Gerald Vaughn, number 38. And Vaughn dragged down by Pitcher. David Pitcher. Farthing was the intended receiver. And Gerald Vaughn, the left halfback, stepped in front for his first interception of the season. More tough times ahead for Saskatchewan as the Stampeders get the football right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 1994 Calgary Roughriders, sponsored by Tropicana, Pure Premium Orange Juice, and Software Athletics, choreography by Alice Hill.
Now the first play they put, the first play was him. Right, put Pitcher inside. Elgard flagged, they ran the dash. So whoever on Elgard got replaced, right? Okay, yeah, but I mean, for future, when they line up like that, right? Out of the shotgun dash, it was Elgard, not Pitcher, right? Yeah, he ran it in, he ran it perfect. You guys
Gerald Vaughn has the first turnover of the football game. Number 38 just picked off a Tom Burgess pass. Burgess under quite a bit of pressure from the Stampeders up front.
Well, I think Saskatchewan's worst fears might be realized here. They needed to answer those 13 points put up by Calgary with a solid drive of their own, but Tommy Burgess has picked up. The pressure's coming, and Gerald Vaughn steps in front, makes the key turnover, and all of a sudden Calgary has a chance here early in the second quarter to really take control of this football game.
Yeah, it's already 13-0 Stampeders with 9:56 to go till halftime. Ray Yock talking it over with Dan Farthing, who was the intended receiver on the interception. 6 defensive backs in for the Roughriders. Everyone's a receiver for the Stampeders in this setup. Stewart actually right up on the line. As Flutie fakes once and then over the middle, finding Brian Wiggins. He's inside the 30, another Stampeder first down. Ron gets over to make the tackle. The gain is 14 yards. This is tough to stop, Lee.
Yeah, it really is. You know, John, I talked when we showed the offensive line and there'd be opening lineups that, you know, this is pretty good group blocking for Flutie, but hey, he makes them look good at times too, and that was one of them where he just bought himself 3 or 4 seconds more to allow Wiggins to open up.
Another 5 receiver set for the Stampeders. Flutie handing off to Stewart. Slowed by Glenn Suter, number 27, and Ray Bernard had a hold of his feet, number 95.
You know, that play is one of the reasons why it's so tough to defense the Calgary Stampeder offense. They keep you off balance. You know, you think pass, 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 and then Doug Flutie changes the pace just a little bit, and he hammers Tony Stewart away at you. There are his numbers here in one half of play. Those are a lot of rushing yards for a quarter and a half.
He's got the passing yardage as well. 2nd and 3. Flutie in some difficulty here. He escapes from Jurison initially. Throws on the run, has his target far side. It's Pee Wee Smith. He couldn't stay in bounds, but it'll be another Stampeder first down. 16 yards, Flutie to Pee Wee.
Bobby Jurison coming from the right side of your screen there. Watch the spin right here by Flutie. Hey, a little pirouette, and Bobby Jurison, who is one of the more agile rush ends in the league, is left totally flat-footed, and yeah, guess what happens? The receiver's open downfield.
And Pee Wee just couldn't keep along the tightrope far side. From the 6-yard line, Stampeders are first and goal again. Flutie, end zone, touchdown, Alan Pitts. 7th touchdown of the season for number 18, Alan Pitts. 6 points off the turnover.
And all of a sudden, this game looks like it might get out of hand. Calgary strikes quickly once again, and they do it to you in so many different ways. The horse might need a few more oats in the bucket by tomorrow morning.
I would think. Could be a busy night.
Trigger will get a workout.
Yeah, I think it is Trigger.
Well, it is now.
McLaughlin adds one more. And the Stampeders comfortably in front of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 20-0. 7:41 till halftime.
Hey, everybody, Bob, man. How you doing? Playing well tonight, folks.
And that dream date with Mike Lonsborough. Come on, let's get Mike up there.
Alan Pitts closing in on another 100-yard game. He has 25 100-yard games in his career.
A little play action. Here goes Tony Stewart right up here, but watch what Alan Pitts does to Aaron Ruffin. Takes him hard inside there, breaks it back to the corner, and as a defensive back on the goal line, I think you have to come up and challenge a little tighter than that. Look at, Ruffin really never gets his body into Pitts, and that's pretty easy. In fact, too easy.
Doug Flutie has been a little inconsistent over the last couple of weeks. Even though the Stampeders have been winning, he is certainly Mr. Consistency so far tonight. Good on 14 of 17, 213 yards so far. Here's Larry Thompson, ready to return for Saskatchewan. Out across the 20 to about the 22. Raymond Biggs leading the Stampeder tacklers, and it's time for Tom Burgess to get the Saskatchewan offense rolling here.
Well, that was the difference we talked about. They can't fall behind by a lot early. It's okay to be down a few points, but 20 now with halfway through the second quarter. I think they really have to answer quickly.
Thanks for the prayers. Please continue. To Colin and Job and Inglewood, thank you for all the help.
7:23 to go till halftime. Roughriders from the 22. Burgess stands in and can't get away. Kenny Walker, number 99, and on top of Tom Burgess. Third sack of the year for Walker. He's been a superb player for the Stampeders in his first season.
Well, the entire front four has played so well, but Kenny Walker had a couple of years with the Denver Broncos in the NFL, was released.
Piling on. Calgary number 98. 15-yard penalty. First down.
It's Lubo Zizakovic, and to continue the Kenny Walker story was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They traded him and Lubo Zizakovic out to the Calgary Stampeders, and maybe that was a pretty large mistake because he has been sensational for them. And Burgess looking for Elgard. He's covered over the middle, and that allows Walker that extra time. And you see Zizakovic come in a little bit late, and I like it. You got to protect those quarterbacks.
Shotgun for Burgess. Looking deep, far side. Thompson, the intended receiver, couldn't get around the coverage on that one. It was Junior Thurman, number 2. The quarterbacks, well, there's quite a difference in passing yardage so far. 11 for Burgess, who has to get it going for the Roughriders.
Well, it's a difficult situation for Tom Burgess to be in. You don't want to be 2nd and 10 against this Calgary defense. Now they make another adjustment. They bring number 6, Greg Fears, another defensive back in. They take out the lineman. So they've got 3 down linemen, and with Pope and Johnson, as good of blitzing linebackers as there are in the league, they can bring them. But it's a tough defense to try and go against in this situation.
Johnson on the charge, a screen to Saunders. He got away from the first wave, and Saunders has a big first down for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A.J. Alondra Johnson made the stop after a 14-yard gain.
And you have to give Tom Burgess a lot of credit. He's probably seen the substitution come on the field, and with only a three-man rush, the screenplay is the perfect call and set up nicely, although Junior Thurman has a chance right here to make the hit. He can't make the tackle, and then Mike Sanders gets a block. Nice block from Mike Anderson, the center there. You see Will Johnson, who gets double teamed a lot. He goes to the inside. Two people are waiting. That's what will happen with only a three-man rush, but the screenplay was the perfect call.
From the 46, Roughriders 1st and 10. And the play whistled down. A couple of time count violations tonight, 2 against Flutie earlier.
Violation. Saskatchewan number 12. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Yeah, I suspect Tom Burgess is doing a lot of reading at the line of scrimmage tonight. When he sees certain personnel, he'll want to change plays. And for Ray Yock, who's a very good offensive mind, I think there's 3 things that you can really do against Calgary. You can screen them, you can trap them, and you can run the draws against Calgary, because when they only rush 4 people, those are the 3 kind of plays that are really successful against that particular defense.
1st and 15. Burgess will throw under the cover to Ulmer, number 2. And he fights his way near the 50-yard line. Number 91. And the safety, Greg Knox. Narcisse got the winning touchdown in Game 1 of this 1994 season. Stampeders had a 21-0 lead. The Roughriders came back.
Will this be deja vu?
Well, they needed, as Ray Yock was talking, a lot of breaks in that game. There were fumbles and lots of opportunities for Saskatchewan to get back in the game in the second half. They're down 20-0 right now. That was tipped at the line. I don't know who Burgess had intended the pass for.
And truly what Calgary is doing well is jamming the inside receivers of the Roughriders. Elgard and Dan Farthing are having a tremendously difficult time getting off the line of scrimmage, and we have to credit Gerald Vaughn and Kenton Leonard for that. They're doing an excellent job.
Manage standing at his 35 on 3rd down, Saskatchewan. 3 deep for the Calgary Stampeders. Good kick by Manich. Coleman at the 15. Penalty marker is down. Coleman ran a long way and lost a couple of yards.
Number 17, Marvin Coleman ran a long way to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Someone yelled no yards down there, and the flag came down.
46 yards for Manich on the kick.
.437 till halftime as Dave Ewell sorts out the penalty. It will be no yards against Saskatchewan.
No yards. Saskatchewan number 30. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Dallas Ricevi, number 30.
Communications Superstore. 291-5400. Pro-Am offers one-stop shopping for
Ricevi in his rookie season from North Dakota. He's a native of Moose Jaw.
Well, John, you talk about critical series. I thought it was for the Rough Rider offense. They didn't get the job done, but I think it's once again critical for their defense. They cannot afford to give Calgary any more points in this half if they want to stay in this game.
Saskatchewan defense solid last week in a win over Edmonton. Here's Flutie looking to spring Dave Sapunjas. And Ruffin was covering on Sapunjas. Flutie's upset that he missed his man.
That's great.
Had him.
Yeah, that's a good pattern for Sapunjas. Watch this. As soon as he clears Ron Getz right there, the ball should be in the air. It is, but it's a little high. That's the kind of pass that has to be thrown on the line. As soon as he clears the linebacker, it has to be in there. Flutie was a little late.
He knows the right play.
Yeah, he knows it, though. He knows he's got to get that ball there just a little bit quicker.
On 2nd and 10, the Roughriders have 7 defensive backs in the secondary. Moore drew a little double coverage from 2 of them. Ruffin was there.
Well, they play a little game with Will Moore right there. Aaron Ruffin and Glenn Suter, 27. Watch Will Moore come into the middle there. He knows he's going to get, Ruffin knows he's going to get help from Suter, and Ruffin, that allows him to play it a little bit tighter, and he got up and knocked it away.
4:02 to go till halftime. Stampeders in front by 20 points.
call that a robber defense, when that middle safety likes to cheat over and work into the hook to help his halfback out and then work to perfection. And as I indicated, I thought that was a crucial situation for the Rough Rider defense. That was a solid series for them.
This is Ulmer. Oh, hang on, it's Ruffin, number 33. And the Rough Riders will come away with decent field position on the exchange after an 8-yard return. Blair Zur leading a Stampeder tackle. Happy faces in the crowd at McMahon Stadium. Say hi.
Love to see the young kids at the ball game. Football, and certainly here in Calgary, they've almost been spoiled. They've had so many good games to watch over the years with Doug Flutie and Alan Pitts and all the stars that are here. I mean, you look through this team, and I mean, there are a ton of stars.
On both sides.
Oh, I mean, I looked at their defense.
Name them all.
Every player, I said, no weaknesses here.
Burgess on first down, Saskatchewan over the middle, has Pitcher to the 40-yard line. Key first down for the Rough Riders. Gerald Vaughn made the tackle, and Burgess took a hit after releasing the toss.
Well, the blitz was coming, and it's a hot pattern to Pitcher, the fullback. And Tommy Burgess knows he's going to have to get rid of it quickly. He steps up, and who's there but Big Daddy? And Big Daddy, when he comes 100 miles an hour.
First and 10, Rough Riders, 46-yard line. Again, Burgess shotgun. This time, more time, as he has Ulmer wide open, and he can't get it to him. Yeah, Knox moved over to close the gap on Ulmer, and the Rough Riders face 2nd and 10 when we return to McMahon in Calgary. This is CFL Live.
Visit Renfrew Sports, Alberta's largest indoor selection of powerboats, Mercury, and Merc Cruiser products. A proud sponsor of the Calgary Stampeders and the Stampeder Uncles and Aunts at Large Fishing Derby. Vision is very important on and off the field, and that's why the Stampeders trust Chinook Laser Eye Center for all their laser eye care needs. Chinook Laser Eye Center is in Chinook Center. Husky Oil and their top dog retail dealers are proud of their support of the Husky Oil Stampeder High School Players Clinic and Challenge Game. You're always a winner with the Stampeders and Husky. Molson Canadian 15-pack cartons now available. Win Stampeder tickets for September 5th against Edmonton at selected beer outlets.
Here's the storyline for Dodge Trucks, reinventing the truck. Stampeders with 14 points second quarter. That's part of it. Flutie, 213 yards passing. That's another part. And then Stewart with 78 rushing. That about sums up a 20-0 Calgary lead.
And John, Doug Flutie immediately came off after the final series, the last series, said, look, fellas, we need another one. It's as if they do remember that game when they gave up the 21 points. You know, Leaf, they play with such confidence, this offense. It's nothing, when they fail, it's not Saskatchewan's fault, it's their own. They've made the mistake offensively because they always think they can score with it.
Yeah, I really believe that, Vic. I've talked and I know enough of the players in Calgary to feel that you're exactly right. They think that the only person or group that can stop them is themselves.
2nd and 10, Rough Riders now at the 46. Burgess can't get it away. Again, it's Pope. Will Johnson is there as well.
Will Johnson, all he has done is had 67 sacks now in 86 games. Is that consistent or what? He gets around Big Dan Payne, and Tommy Burgess has no chance right there. It's a speed rush to the outside, but is that any good? 67 sacks in 86 games.
An 8-yard loss.
4 years. Spent a couple of years with the Chicago Bears, retired, was a policeman in Dallas, and then came up to Calgary and has been nothing short of sensational in these 4 years.
Manage. This is Pee Wee Smith. And he's out across the 15, about the 17-yard line. 5-yard return, 36-yard punts.
I must tell you, John, I played in a little golf tournament with the Stampeders yesterday called Reach for the Stars, where they go into the community, raise money to be role models for young kids. And Will Johnson was playing in my group, and I knew I was in trouble when I came to the first tee, and there was Will with a range bucket. And he lost every single ball.
He lost. He was hitting them straight, eh?
But I'll tell you, we had a great time. He's quite a guy and quite a player, and Reach for the Stars does a lot of great work with the young kids in the Calgary area.
First down for Flutie and the Stampeders. 2:09 till halftime. Calgary leading 20-0. Flutie shotgun. Looks to the far side and over tosses Alan Pitts. Flutie has gone 0 for his last 4 passes. He was angry about missing Sapunjas on the previous sequence.
Well, Saskatchewan had a good defensive series the last time, and now they need another one here.
Stampeders the third in CFL scoring so far this season, averaging 38.3 points a game. Flutie gets the rush, got it away somehow to Stewart. I don't know how he got it away. Brown taking Stewart out of bounds.
And once again, Doug Flutie buys himself a little extra time as his receiver finally gets open, and you know, he wants to go to the crossing pattern there, but then finally dumps it off to Stewart. Watch the block by Pee Wee Smith right there on Getz. That allows Stewart to get an extra few yards and pick up the first down.
7 defensive backs in for the Roughriders. And here comes one, but Flutie away from the first wave, down the sidelines. For Pitts out at midfield, stopped at the 55. Glenn Suter.
And this is the beauty for Doug Flutie, is he's played with his receivers for a long time, and when he gets in a scramble situation, as he was right there, he knows what every receiver likes to do. In Alan Pitts' case, he likes to work back to the quarterback. Now the fun starts. Hey, the scramble's on. Pitts keeps working back, finds an open area, makes a good solid catch, but that's the luxury Doug Flutie. He knows what all his guys like to do in that situation.
Alan Pitts with 1 touchdown already tonight. Flutie after a 26-yard gain out at midfield with a first down. Again away from the rush, and Flutie takes it himself. He's out for a first down. Brown, number 4, finally forcing Flutie to the sidelines, but he did grab the first down.
And what happens so often with Saskatchewan Roughrider defense, they're so intent on their coverage that this creates a pretty decent lane for Flutie to run with if he wants to. And the only difference between Doug Flutie now and a few years ago is that usually Flutie runs to set up the throw, and that means he's running for an open spot to throw it. Whereas, let's say, a Damon Allen runs to run. There is a bit of a difference.
Flutie often runs to throw or set it up.
First and 10 Calgary.
From the 49 now, Stampeders. 8 defensive backs out there for Saskatchewan, if you can count them. And here's Stewart almost. He's more than halfway to a first down with a gain of 8. Roughriders have dressed 9 defensive backs for this game tonight, and 8 of them were out there on the previous play. Now they've dropped right back to 6. Second and 2, Stampeders at the Saskatchewan 41. Stewart, and he can't turn the corner this time. Gary Lewis, 79, the tackle. And that'll help the Saskatchewan cause with 1:10 to go till halftime. Steady veteran in his 10th season.
Yeah, both Gary Lewis and Sean Brantley, the 2 tackles, have really had fine starts to 1994. And it's an interesting decision. I mean, that's a long couple of yards there on 3rd down.
1:02 on the clock. Stampeders have the lead by 20 points. What's Wally going to do?
Well, Doug Flutie's going to call a timeout here. He let the clock run down a little bit and then just decided, hey, there's not enough time to make a good decision. Let's call timeout, and we'll go over and talk it over. And well, that's the other advantage of having a mature quarterback. He seems so unflappable out there that he's seen everything, he understands everything, and what a guy to have on your side.
Flutie has outstanding receivers, but when you look down the list, perhaps the best chemistry he does have is with Alan Pitts.
As far as chemistry, I think the bottom line of that is I read his body language very well. I know I can anticipate his breaks and things that he's doing and anticipate it and put it in there so that he catches the ball on time rather than allowing him to close.
Alan Pitts with 1 touchdown. He is the Stampeders' leading receiver again at this stage of the season. Here's the option, and Flutie finds a big hole over the middle. He could score. He does score. 36 yards, Doug Flutie. Sixth rushing touchdown of the season for number 20.
Back to the option play once again, and this time it's Bobby Jurison rather than the option. See, he goes for Stewart. That means that Doug Flutie has to turn it up as a defense. That's really what you want to do. It's just that you have to make some tackles downfield, and Doug Flutie takes it all the way in.
And he had Wiggins right by his side. I think Brian Wiggins was hoping Flutie might pitch it out to him just as he crossed just before he crossed the line.
Well, a second time they've scored on that option play, but for Saskatchewan, you know, they did the correct thing on defense. Bobby Jurison went to the right guy. He just didn't get much support in behind him.
Solid showing by the Stampeders in the opening half. Still just under a minute to go. It's 26-0. Now 27-0. Calgary leading the Saskatchewan Roughriders. All Stampeders in the first half.
Once again, and option is called because you're optioning against one particular person. Watch as Bobby Jurison comes across the line of scrimmage. We're going to roll it and then stop it. Okay, stop it right there. He's going to move out to take Stewart here. That says, Doug Flutie, you run it up inside and hope I get help from the other defensive guys, but solid blocking downfield. Bruce Coverton, number 60, and there you see the huge gap that opens up for Flutie, but option means we're going to option against one certain player, and really you can't do the right thing there. If you go to the back, Flutie runs. If you go to Flutie, he pitches out and you're dead that way. It's a great short yardage play that Calgary's executing flawlessly.
Win-win situation for the Stampeders there. 21 points for Calgary in the second quarter. Here's Larry Thompson trying to make a little something happen for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Stampeders offensively have been great. Vince Danielson chasing him out. 7 plays to cover 93 yards in a minute 18. And then Flutie finishes it off with the option rush for 36.
Back-to-back solid drives, John. My oh my, this is an accomplished group.
And a little slow starting as we watch the Stampeders in the first quarter. They moved the ball fairly well, but had to settle for a couple of field goals. But then, as mentioned, 21 points in the second quarter. So when you get to halftime, it says 27-0.
That's funny. Vic mentioned really the only people that can stop the Stampeder offense is themselves. And I'm sure after those 2 first drives where they didn't get points, they came off saying, hey, it's still going to be a good night.
And it has been for Calgary. Mike Saunders. There's a little room inside for Saunders. Ray Yock on crutches, far side, injured last week. If you missed that in the Eskimo game.
John, the difficulty for Ray Yock right now is this is very similar to the Ottawa-Winnipeg game the other night. Ottawa is a team that cannot play a lot of catch-up, and Regina is in the same boat. They've got some solid players, no question about that, but it's not the explosive team that, let's say, a BC Lions are, you know, to 27-zip. I mean, this is going to be an uphill battle.
Saunders out near the 30, but looks to be short of the first down with 19 seconds on the clock.
Sorry, in all fairness to Saskatchewan, people at home maybe say, well, what are they doing on 2nd and 7 running the football? Well, I mean, that is a big part of their offense, is to run the football on those traps with Mike Saunders. That time, the counter draw And they have to continue to do that because they just can't keep putting it up 40 times a game. That's not how they're going to win or how they can try and get back into this one tonight. They have to methodically, like, pound away.
14 seconds to go till halftime. Roughriders have the opportunity now to run out the clock.
Third down and 1.
Different formation. Now they send Thompson to the near side, and Burgess content to just run it out. In that first half, no receptions for Don Narcisse, Ray Elgard, or Dan Farthing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Flutie completed a bunch and marched Calgary at will. 27-0. Stampeders leading the Roughriders. Stay with us for the halftime presentation.
It's time for the Little Miss Outlet.
We told you about Stampeders owner Larry Rickman lifting the blackout. Well, he made some news earlier this week on Thursday declaring that unless he has a new agreement with McMahon Stadium and a sponsorship agreement with Alberta Lottery, September the 15th is his deadline. And he just really, I think, Larry, wants what other teams have already gotten, namely the Oilers and Flames and the Cannons here in town, and that's some help from either lotteries or help in terms of rental.
Vic, really what it is if we could get a lease deal, the same as any other team in the CFL, this team's viable here for many, many years. We've done everything we can in terms of putting on-field product and sponsorships, but we're just missing that one last thing, that's a lease.
Now, this, with all respect, I mean, this has been done by other owners, other leagues, other teams. Is this a line in the sand that will be erased closer to the 15th and moved back here to the 20th or the 30th, or is this the line in the sand?
Really, this is the line in the sand. I mean, candidly, I've done everything I can. It would be different if we weren't a good team, if we didn't have decent crowds. Calgary's coming out to these games. We have excellent crowds. We're only missing that one lease deal. I can't afford to take $1 million loss a year when we're the flagship franchise. When you're trying to sell new teams to new people and your flagship franchise losing money, doesn't make sense.
Now, it's interesting that Doug Mitchell from here in Calgary, former CFL commissioner, is looking at exactly how the government should be involved. I mean, you would think with his involvement or past involvement with CFL teams that he might be a little bit on your side, would it not, or has he given you any indication?
I think he's a good objective person to be doing the job. The problem we have is that we don't want to wait for the sports report. The Flames didn't, the Oilers didn't, the Trappers didn't, the Cannons didn't, and the Eskimos didn't. As this team, we can't wait until January to find out whether we're viable here.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that this report comes out, I think it's October 31st, so it's about a month and a half after your deadline. You're not ready or prepared to wait for his report.
Actually, to go even further than that, it's just a preliminary report. The actual report comes out January 1st. Well, if I'm looking to sign a lease in a new city, it's got to be done now. But I have to tell you, we want to stay here, and I'm going to fight like hell to try and keep this team here.
Now, Calgary reporter Lisa Bose of TSN spoke with Chairman John Tory today, and to paraphrase what she told me, he said, look, you're all within your right to set this deadline, and you apparently meet all the criteria for possibly moving a team. They don't want you to move. I don't think you want to move. So it seems to me this 15th deadline could be moved.
It's always possible. You know, we're not looking for taxpayers' dollars, but the fact of the matter is every other CFL team has a good lease except for Calgary. Every other sports team in the province has come to terms to stay in the province. It just absolutely amazes me that we can't work something out for the Stampeders.
Your lifting of the blackout made news as well, and you know, that's a chance you take, but you probably have your largest crowd of the season here.
We absolutely do. It's been an incredible success. What I wanted Calgary to do is have the opportunity to see how much fun it is to actually watch a Calgary game with Calgary fans, because if you haven't been out for a long time, you kind of forget how exciting it can be.
Larry, we thank you for your time, and we wish you the best, and certainly I'm sure that nobody wants to see the Stampeders leave Calgary.
Thank you very much.
It's a 27-0, the Stampeders leading Saskatchewan half.
They pitch it out to Stewart, and probably the easiest of the 10 touchdowns that Stewart has scored so far this year.
And then there was a little pressure that the Roughriders absorbed. Here's Tom Burgess under the heat here.
Well, the front four of Calgary always gets their turns, and this time it was Will Johnson's turn with his 5th sack of the season, and a lot of heavy pressure in that first half.
And here's the option when the quarterback keeps it.
Well, Bobby Jurison does the right thing. You want to go out and take the running back Stewart and then hope you get some help from your defensive guys inside. It never materialized. And 36-yard touchdown run by Doug Flutie, and boy, all Calgary in the first half of play.
That was on a third down gamble for the Stampeders. Flutie found the end zone, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders really haven't been involved in this first half of football, offensively in particular. This is CFL Live, back live to McMahon right after this.
Yeah, okay, good.
Super 7's the new big action lottery that offers you more chances to win millions of dollars. Super 7, lots of cash, more chances to win. Present your game ticket at Roughriders restaurant and receive a 10% discount. Roughriders, now Italian.
Stampeders completely dominated the Roughriders in the opening half of football at McMahon. Net yards 377 compared to 57. Turnovers were not a big factor. Time of possession was in one area, and Doug Flutie had the Stampeders on a roll. He's fired up and ready to go for the second half here, as we're almost set to get underway.
Wow, he made it look like a practice session out there. Complete 18 balls in one half of play. On the other hand, for Tom Burgess, a miserable first half. Not entirely his fault, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders, if they can't generate any offense to keep their defense off the field, it will continue to be a very long night for them.
Burgess has not completed a pass to Ray Elgard, Don Narcisse, or Dan Farthing so far, and that's obviously causing some concern for Ray Yock, Roughrider head coach, who's got enough problems already. He's trying to stand up on the far side. Had knee ligament problems last week, suffered in a game against the Edmonton Eskimos, and Ray's been in quite a great deal of pain trying to coach from the sidelines.
He's getting pretty good at driving that golf cart around at practice, though.
You're right about that. Cal Murphy pioneered that when he was injured. Larry Thompson plays it over his shoulder. Second half underway. The Roughriders need a big return. Not much there. Raymond Biggs leading the Stampeder tacklers. He wears number 44. 66-yard kickoff, 16-yard return.
And of course the objectives now for both teams here as we begin the third quarter, obviously for Saskatchewan to generate some type of offense to try and hopefully get them back in this game. For the Calgary Stampeders, keep putting the hammer down. Don't give the Roughriders any glimmer of hope here in the second half like they had in the season opener at Taylor Field. And that's, of course, what Calgary's defense will try and do.
Roughriders begin the second half with Warren Jones at quarterback. He's on target for Saunders. Away from one and dragged down by the second man, Douglas Kraft, number 3. Jones has not had a great deal of experience playing this season. Got on only 6 of 12 passes for 96 yards. The University of Hawaii.
And John, I like the decision of Ray Yock. You know, Tom Burgess obviously was struggling, did not have anything going. So why not make a quarterbacking change? Sometimes that little change gives the offense a lift for whatever reason, and maybe Warren Jones will go underneath a few more times like he did and get something going for this team.
Short yardage unit is in. This is 2nd and 3, Saskatchewan. And I don't think they made it. The ball squirted loose. It came to Jones. The gain looks to be about 2. The Roughriders come up a yard short. Saunders, the ball carrier, number 32. And Matic is into the ball game quickly. So Jones came in, completed his first pass. The Roughriders couldn't convert into a first down.
And one of the reasons why he couldn't was number 91, Big Daddy Marvin Pope, and he's the key in short yardage. He's usually the fellow that makes the play, and there he gets in on the legs of Mike Saunders, gets a little help over the top from Greg Knox, and early in the third quarter, the Roughriders are denied a first down, and they did not want to have to give it up so quickly.
Manage having a solid night. Sailing this one to Coleman. Away from the first wave of Saskatchewan tacklers, and he turns it into a fine return. Out across the 45 to the 47. Elgard leading the Saskatchewan tacklers to the Stampeder return guy. 27-0. Stampeders have the lead on the Roughriders early in the second half at McMahon.
Score check, $50,000 plus for win. If I get able to get it, here we go. The man is playing for $50,000. Oh! This $50,000 in cash courtesy of Score Check and a big weapon for anyone that's following the game. All right, here we go. Let's win for the trip for materials of $50,000. Boy, are you lucky out there to get some game movement. Let's hear Sports Center, big contestants tonight.
This is a big part of the story. Ray Elgard doesn't very often get shut out. That's the story so far tonight. Alan Pitts has 4 for 63 and 1 receiving touchdown.
Yeah, I think you really have to credit both Gerald Vaughn and Kenton Leonard, the inside halfbacks of the Stampeders. They have done their best to take on a very physical Ray Elgard about 5 yards downfield, disrupt his pass patterns, and it has really worked to perfection. A frustrating night for Ray, the all-time receiving leader in CFL history.
720 catches made for 11,628 yards. But the zeros are up tonight. Stampeders' offensive line has done a good job of keeping Flutie protected.
First and 10 for the Calgary Stampeders at their own 23.
Stampeders begin at the 23. There was a holding call on the return. That's why the Stampeders are back there. Tony Stewart's stopped by the first man through. That was Brian Robinson, number 98. 4-yard gain for Stewart, who's had a great night. 10 touchdowns on the season for Stewart, with 1 tonight. That's more offensive touchdowns than the Roughriders have as a team so far in '94.
Well, you look at the Roughriders, I mean, they are 9th in total offense, so it's not surprising. They have struggled a little bit in that department. They have relied on a strong defense to have their record at 3-3.
2nd and 6, Stampeders. Flutie shotgun. Look to the near side, and it might have been picked off. They gave it to Pitts on the sideline. Somehow he wrestled it away. Close call down there. Drawhorn thought that maybe he might have been able to squeeze that out of Pitts' arms.
Well, I'll bet you anything, when Pitts goes back to the huddle, Doug Flutie's going to say, hey, great catch, buddy, because he absolutely wrestles this away from Anthony Drawhorn. Now, this is fine line between maybe being an interception or a reception, and nobody knows better than Doug Flutie what a good job his receiver did to fight through the defensive back and make a sensational catch on the sidelines.
Really was a great catch by Alan Pitts.
Well, it's good upper body strength by Pitts to be able to work through and be able to make it. Boy, do they get on a roll or what? Field goal, touchdown, touchdown, 1 punt. Bad drive right there, and then another touchdown. These guys, they can steamroll you in a hurry.
21 points, second quarter for the Stampeders. Flutie had 6 on the board on 2 McLaughlin field goals in the first quarter, and then really went to work in the second. Pitts 5 receptions, 69 yards, and he's just a little bit short here. This will be 3rd down. 3rd and inches, I would suggest. Early in the 3rd quarter, Wally Buono goes gambling. Not a big gamble here, as Flutie rolls ahead, and he'll have the first down with no markers anywhere in the field. Great numbers for Tony Stewart, 11 rushes for 90 yards, 2 receptions for 34 more.
Well, he projects out to easily go over the 1,000-yard mark as a running back this year, and nobody has done that since 1988 for the Stampeders when Gary Allen did it. So it's been a long time since they've had a running back in the 1,000-yard club.
Stampeders at the 35 on the first down. Sapunjas was the intended receiver, and Aaron Ruffin, number 33, came up to supply the coverage. Flutie a little upset at something that happened down there.
Well, he thinks Ruffin's grabbing Sapunjas. That's what he's indicating. But the more and more that I see the rookie Aaron Ruffin play, the more I like how he likes to challenge receivers. Comes up right now and fights through the ball, gets the left hand in there. Flutie's upset. He thinks there should have been interference. I don't agree with him on that case. The only time Ruffin was in trouble tonight was on the one Pitts touchdown where I felt like he played it a little soft. Maybe Flutie's upset at
Jurison. Yeah, I think maybe Jurison he's angry at.
Hey, if you're Flutie, you don't want to do that to the defensive lineman. Hey, just take your little lick and forget about it.
2nd and 10, Flutie. Shotgun again. Hits again. Out at the 55. First down in front of Anthony Drawhorn. Alan Pitts, another big game.
Well, you see, Drawhorn's coming up and challenging. There's the bump right there, but he can't stay with Pitts. I mean, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. He really misses getting the good solid hit, and then Pitts with another spectacular catch. What a night he's having. 6th reception for him, and boy, it seems like they get better and better with each catch.
That was a 22-yard gain out across the midfield stripe. And this is Tony Stewart's. It's close to a 5-yard gain.
He's close to a 4-yard.
Well, he only needed 40 yards to go over 6,000 for his career. He got that easily tonight, and what an accomplishment that is for him. A nice milestone in his career.
Alan Pitts in 5 seasons, and he missed most of one.
2nd down and 6 at the 48.
4-yard gain, 2nd and 6. Stampeders in control at 27-0. Little pressure on Flutie, and he fired that for Will Moore. Coverage from Dale Joseph, number 21.
Well, you mentioned earlier, John, you wouldn't be surprised to see a little green and white. Yeah, they're in every park in Canada. It seems like this is the universal team in the CFL. I would think the Saskatchewan Roughriders always have some friendly faces around the country.
Tony Martino is in. Not a big night kicking for Martino. It's an average of 38.
But what he does as well as any kicker in the league is angle that ball towards the sidelines and give his covered team a very good angle as they go down to cover it.
Martino's season average is 43. Van Bellingham almost got through. That one bouncing near the 5-yard line. And it rolls out at the half-yard line. You got it? Yeah. There you go. Just mentioned his average. He nails 148 and rolls it out on the 1. Happy times for Stampeder fans. This is CFL Live. Yes. Look where the Saskatchewan Roughriders are, right at the 1-yard line on first down. Jones is in at quarterback, and he's intercepted through the hands of Elgard and grabbed by Greg Knox. 3rd interception of the season for Knox. And there was a marker down, but it goes against Saskatchewan.
You know, John, on defense, I think the old adage is true. If you're going to have a good defense, you have to be strong through the middle. And the Calgary Stampeders really have that. Marvin Pope at the middle linebacking spot, and Greg Knox in the middle at safety. He does everything asked of him. He'll play center field and help out on the deep patterns. He'll come up and run the safety blitz. And he's always there, and watch the tip ball right here. He's there with his 3rd interception, but boy, are the Calgary Stampeders strong up the middle. Tipped off the hands of Ray Elgard right there. And he's playing deep center field, Greg Knox.
He knows how to win. A Vanier Cup winner in 91, a Grey Cup winner with the Stampeders in 92. And he sets the Stampeders up at the 26 with a first down. Flutie to work quickly on target. And Will Moore having a pretty good night. Number 82 in front of Getz. And the Stampeders rolling toward that Saskatchewan end zone again.
Greg Knox got to learn from a good one here. Greg Peterson, he's in his 3rd year, and he's got all the savvy of an old-time pro here as he plays that middle safety spot so well.
1st and 10, Stampeders. Saskatchewan 11 as Flutie goes to the end zone for Pitts. And Flutie didn't miss by much, with Drawhorn covering on Pitts again.
Alan Pitts ran the out and up, and he had Anthony Drawhorn right where he wanted him, not being able to turn around and locate the football. There's the out move. He sells that well. You see Anthony Drawhorn's head is turned. Drawhorn fighting back, and just in the last second, Drawhorn tries to locate it, couldn't, but it didn't really matter because Pitts wasn't able to hang on. See how he ducks away after he throws? That's why he doesn't take the big hit.
2nd and 10, Stampeders, Saskatchewan 11. End zone again. Moore alone. Another Stampeder touchdown. Will Moore's 3rd of the season.
Pretty awesome night for Doug Flutie. Will Moore, the 2nd receiver in at the top of your screen, looks hard to the post and gets Aaron Ruffin to bite on it, and then it's goodbye Charlie. He's getting deep into the end zone. Flutie right on target. Aaron Ruffin's played some good plays, and he's had some ones that he'd like to have back tonight so far.
Couple of turnovers by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Both have led to Calgary touchdowns. Now it's 34-0. The high-flying Stampeders leading the Roughriders.
Sponsored by Tropicana Pure.
Self, it's been all Calgary. Allmer waits for it at the Saskatchewan 6. Riders haven't had big returns tonight, and this one may come back. There's a marker down near the 30-yard line. Knox, who had an interception a moment ago, getting the tackle there. The return 33, the kickoff 69. Saskatchewan Roughriders are 3-3. They have won at home 3 times and lost all 3 games on the road. Vic?
There's a lot of hanging heads over here on the Saskatchewan side, Leaf John. You know what, Leaf, it's interesting. Unlike the other night when we were in Winnipeg, when, you know, coaches were berating some players and saying, look, most of the coaches are still trying to be upbeat. You get the feeling Saskatchewan thinks they haven't played that badly, certainly made a couple of mistakes, but against a team like Calgary, Leaf, man, you pay for those mistakes.
Well, you sure do, Vic. You can't give them turnovers and opportunities like they've had and not drive the ball and try and counteract with something.
Don Narcisse gets his first reception of the night, and that keeps the streak alive for Narcisse.
When you talk about problem areas, Don Narcisse, that's his first catch of the night. Ray Elgaard's still looking for his first, so you take those 2 guys out of the lineup, it spells a lot of doom and gloom.
And Narcisse's streak continues past 114 games with at least 1 catch. And now Dan Farthing makes the reception for a first down Saskatchewan. Stopped by Matt Finley, number 37. So Jones finally gets the Roughriders rolling a little bit. Warren Jones on the field in relief of Tom Burgess.
Boy, a little extra effort. Mike Anderson, the center, watches he comes down after Farthing goes down and drills Marvin Pope. Now, is this roughing or what? I don't know. Marvin Pope doesn't get hit like that too often. Now, in his defense, he wasn't expecting it. I think Saskatchewan's pretty lucky.
Offside. Calgary number 99, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
1st and 5. Saskatchewan at the 35 now. Jones has hit on back-to-back passes to get the Roughriders out from deep in their zone.
And after Marvin Pope got hit like that, I'm going to watch him for a couple of plays because I think that might have given him a serious wake-up call.
This is Mike Saunders trying to find a little room on 1st and 5 and should have a first down.
Number 32, the ball carrier, gets 6. Junior third, number 2, Matt Finley, 37. Bring him down. It is the Riders' first down.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders don't rely on the run to move down the field as much as they did at one time, but they still do a pretty good job with it. The tackle trap, Payne coming all the way across, opening a hole for Mike Saunders.
Markers are down as Jones completes this to David Pitcher, number 26. Might be another holding call. Payne working on Will Johnson. Penalty down in the area of the Saskatchewan offensive line.
Holding, Saskatchewan number 57. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Dan Payne. And it'll be a 1st and 20 situation. The Riders at the 41.
Now, one time, the only sack that Will Johnson had tonight, he blew around Dan Payne. That time he was getting the upper hand with a speed move to the outside. And Dan Payne at 6'7", 300. That'll drag him down to save his quarterback a hit. The only problem is it cost the team 10 yards at the same time.
And they march it back to the 31 now. 1st and 20. Saskatchewan. Warren Jones at the controls. Same play. Sanders. Another penalty. Saunders got maybe a yard.
Kenny Walker was the Defensive Player of the Week last week in the CFL, and just watch him right here. Sheds the block so quickly of the offensive tackle Chris Burns, and he's there, and Mike Sanders has no chance. But when you talk about additions to a team, Kenny Walker has been an enormous addition to that front four. And Defensive Player of the Week a week ago.
Wally Buono thinks he'll be an All-Canadian.
What a tough job for Chris Burns, number 51, the left tackle of the Roughriders. He's in his rookie season, and you know, it goes from bad to worse. One play you get Kenny Walker, and then next time you go and line up and you say, oh good, Walker's on the other side, but oh, on second thought, I got Will Johnson. I mean, you can't win for a young guy. I mean, this is a tough group to play against. Let's see if that's a face pass. It looks like he might have got the hook there just initially enough, and if he touches it at all and jerks the head, well, you have to call it.
The penalty is going against the Stampeders, and the Roughriders will get a first down.
Michelle Lammy, the injured Rough Rider.
Number 58, Paul Vida, has been listed as a backup for this game. He'd been out of the lineup and is the usual starter, or at least one of the starters along the offensive line, but just working himself back into game shape. So he'll likely come in. Michelle Lammy heading to the sidelines. Trailing 34-0 with 5:17 to go, third quarter, have moved out near midfield, and Warren Jones will try and keep the Rough Rider offense on the field and rolling.
First and 10, Saskatchewan.
Pope was coming, Jones turns and fires, man wide open, it's down there, Cease, big first down, Saskatchewan, inside the 30. Good play by Jones for a 36-yard strike to Don Narcisse.
Now, biggest play of the ball game offensively for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and strangely enough, it comes off a bit of a broken play. Warren Jones flushed out of the pocket. He sees Pope coming hard from the outside, and he's able to get away from the tackle. And pretty decent arm strength to go all the way back across the field, and Don Narcisse able to work away from Junior Thurman.
Longest drive of the night, and Jones takes off, sliding underneath the would-be tackler, that's Pope. And he's near the 20-yard line. 7 yards to gain as Jones has finally got the Rough Rider offense moving.
You know, as a quarterback, John, that must get your heart beating just a little bit stronger when you break contain and all of a sudden you get 91 right in your face.
I would think.
Well, I would think
played it well.
Second down. I would think the heart rate goes up significantly when Marvin Pope's right in front of you.
24 starts as the Stampeder middle linebacker. Now Saunders has the Saskatchewan first down. No markers down, and Saunders grabs 7 more for Saskatchewan. Best drive of the evening for Rider fans. And there are a few at McMahon tonight. Saskatchewan first and 10, Calgary 15. Jones on target again. Dan Farthing, number 10. Marvin Pope again. Ray Elgard has not been a big factor for the Rough Riders tonight.
5 yards on the game.
Still has 0 receptions, some frustration showing here.
Well, when the defensive backs come up and challenge them, I mean, they're ready to and willing to take that because they know that's Ray Elgard's style. If you're going to come up and try and bump him, you know, as a defensive back, you're going to take a bit of a shot too. Well, it hasn't been much to cheer about for those guys.
Well, this drive is about it for Saskatchewan fans. 13 new faces in the Saskatchewan lineup for 1994. Zizakovic is the injured player. That's Lubo Zizakovic.
Since he jumps over the pile, it's kind of tough to see exactly what he did. I tell you, I've seen this game long enough to know that with the knees and the ankles, it sure doesn't take much. I always think back to Dave Marler, quarterback from Hamilton.
Yes, sir.
He went back to set up the pass. We were playing at the Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, and he just planted his foot, went to throw, and went down like a sniper hit him, and the knee was gone. So it really doesn't take much. And, I think Lubo will be back, part of the Flying Zizakovic brothers here at
like that.
Calgary.
If the winner does not play within 15 minutes, we'll draw another one.
He's the bigger of the Flying Zizakovic, 6'8", 270. His big brother is only 6'5", 260. Still trying to find the girl down there that got engaged, Lee.
You got to look for the one that has the ring on now.
I think that might have been her, the last one there. 34-0, Stampeders have the lead, 3:13 to go, third quarter. Rough Riders, deepest penetration of the night, 2nd and 5 at the Stampeder 10-yard line. And Warren Jones, in relief of Tom Burgess, has finally moved the Saskatchewan offense. Saunders off tackle, and he's thrown back short of the first down. Penalty marker is down. Walker was there, and Johnson might have been a little offside. Referee Dave Ewell is trying to sort matters out down there with 3:02 to play till three-quarter time.
Offside. Calgary, 5-yard penalty, first down.
So the first and goal to go. Saskatchewan at the Stampeder 5. Narcisse far side of the field. That brings Thompson to the near side. Jones quickly. Narcisse made the catch. Marker is down again. 4 yards the gain. So Narcisse didn't make a reception in the first half. He has 3 in the second half. So they'll bring this one back on the Rough Riders, back to the 10-yard line.
Yeah, and all of a sudden this game has slowed down to a crawl.
Riders are now first and goal to go at the Stampeders 10. Jones to the end zone. Thompson, what a catch. Second outstanding catch of the night for Larry Thompson. Douglas Kraft covering on Thompson, and that was impossible to cover when the guy comes up with a catch like this.
Well, I think give Warren Jones a lot of credit, too. When you run the fade pattern, the idea for the quarterback is to throw it way out towards the sideline, let his wide receiver adjust to the ball, as Thompson does right here, and watch at the end. He's got two hands on it, and then he'll drag it back in with one. Stays in bounds, and that's a beautiful catch. He's been a huge factor for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Larry Thompson has.
His first touchdown reception in '94.
Yeah, he's had a lot of catches, but hasn't been able to get in the end zone until now.
And the Riders have 7 on the board. Still a long way to go to catch up to the high-flying Stampeders tonight at McMahon. Larry Thompson, quite a story. He's a big threat receiver.
Watch the reaction of Warren Jones after he lets this one fly. He's a pretty happy guy after throwing just an absolutely perfect pass. Deep to the outside, very tough for Douglas Kraft to try and make a play on it, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have their first touchdown of the night.
Warren Jones began this drive back at the Saskatchewan 14.
And often, John, what coaches are saying, there's 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Hey, the players on the sidelines aren't fools. This game may be slightly out of reach now, but what the coaches are saying is, hey, let's keep it going, and even if we don't win the game, let's build on this for next week. Let's leave this game with a good feeling. So I know that's what Ray Yach is telling everybody right now is, hey guys, keep working, keep working. Forget about the score, let's execute, and if nothing else, we build on this for next week.
Good attitude and a solid team effort in a win over Edmonton last week. Here's Coleman on the return. And again, the Stampeders find excellent field position. He's gone, folks. Marvin Coleman answers that Saskatchewan touchdown in a hurry. 76 yards on the kickoff return. Second return touchdown of the season for Marvin Coleman. And that takes the wind out of the Roughriders' sails.
And for a Marvin Coleman, you don't need a lot of blocks. Just one at the point of attack right there, and then watch the lane that's created for him. And there he goes. He's got such tremendous speed, but there's the block right there. Just enough to get by Van Bellingham, and then Coleman does the rest. You give a returner like him one key block at the point of attack, and he can become so dangerous.
Marvin Coleman, a 76-yard kickoff return touchdown. And again, it's a 34-point Stampeder lead.
Well, the only real Rough Rider that had a good legitimate shot was number 15, Bruce Boyko, right there. He just couldn't wrap up. Boy, Marvin Coleman, well, you talk about additions, and we've talked about so many guys tonight. I mean, his punt and kickoff returns, he's able to come in as the nickel sixth defensive back in their scheme of things and contribute. Has an interception already this year. Boy, for a guy like Doug Flutie, he knows how important Marvin Coleman is to the field position you get time and time again.
Now, the last 2 games we talked about earlier, the Stampeders were not getting good special team returns. They were not getting outstanding field position, but the week before that, going back 3 weeks, it was Coleman setting them up all night long.
Well, you got it. He can do it. It's a real talent, and there's only a few guys that can do those kick returns. Henry Williams is one, Marvin Coleman seems to be another, and so will Eric Drake. So that means that you'll probably see the Argonauts go with a 5-pack of receivers, along with Mike Clemens. So Reggie Slack will start at quarterback, I understand.
That's the word. 5-pack of receivers has worked rather well for the Stampeders here tonight. They've got some great ones. This is Larry Thompson right back to his goal line. Just had a touchdown for the Roughriders on a reception from Jones, and he's out near the 23. Greg Fears, number 6, leading the Stampeders special teams tacklers with 1:29 to go in the third quarter.
Well, John, in the opening, I talked about the Calgary Stampeder defense and how they are sometimes overshadowed by such a fantastic offense, but here we are tonight, almost completed the third quarter. They've only given up 7 points. That's 123 in 7 games now. You figure it out. That's a pretty good defense.
On the other hand, the Roughriders have scored just 149 coming into this game. And they have 7 tonight.
Yeah, that translates to 17.8 points against per game for that Calgary defense. That's a pretty serious number.
Jones has had a hot hand since replacing Burgess, standing in, and this time he got hit from behind by Will Johnson. There's a marker down on the other side of the line of scrimmage. That's the Stampeders side, so we'll see what Dave Ewell has here. It's against Calgary. Looks like illegal contact by a defender in the secondary.
Holding. Calgary. First down.
Didn't get a license number on that Stampeder, but it'll be a first down for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, now at the 33.
First and 10 for the Roughriders at the 33.
Narcisse to the near side. Thompson flanks to the far side of the field. The Roughriders have all kinds of receivers in. And Jones rolling right. Pitcher couldn't make the catch, number 26. David Pitcher.
And you saw some serious arm strength from Warren Jones right there. That was a perfect strike and the toughest for a right-handed quarterback to deliver when you're rolling to your left. And he absolutely drilled that ball in. Pitcher, he just couldn't handle the smoke.
Into the final 48 seconds now, third quarter with the Stampeders in front, 41-7.
Yeah, they're having a good time here today, and this is what they have come to expect here in Calgary when they come to McMahon Stadium.
Great crowd here tonight, over 29,000 to see the Roughriders. Saskatchewan usually draws very well at McMahon. There's the blitz, and Jones got it away. Ray Elgard makes the catch, and that's his first of the night. Ray Elgard.
Took a while, almost 3/4 of play to get his first catch.
14 seconds to go till three-quarter time. 11 yards for Elgard. First down, Saskatchewan. Should be the last play of the third quarter. Jones from the shotgun. And Pitcher makes that reception at the 50. His first catch of the night. Close to 6 yards. Make that a second reception for Pitcher. And make that the end of the third quarter with the Roughriders showing a little more spark. Had it not been for that kickoff return, they might have been rolling a little bit closer to the Calgary Stampeders. That's the score as it stands right now. Fourth quarter coming up.
The parks that I like to be in when there's a good crowd and we're all having fun.
2nd and 4, Saskatchewan Roughriders to begin the fourth quarter. Riders at the 50-yard line, trailing by a bunch, but Warren Jones has moved Saskatchewan, and he has done Narcisse, who cuts it back in and comes up short of the first down. Stampeders have dominated the Saskatchewan Roughriders from start to this point. 306 passing yards, 441 net yards. And although the Riders have moved in a little bit closer on time of possession, turnovers have cost Saskatchewan 14 points. Third down, Saskatchewan. Ray Yock on the sidelines. Brent Manich into the ball game. Third and a long one, so the Roughriders will kick it away. One man deep for Calgary. Marvin Coleman, who ran back the kickoff for a 76-yard touchdown. Good kick by Manich. And Coleman can't field it. It goes into the end zone and trickles through for a single point. So it's 41-8. They'll need to score in bigger bunches than that.
I was out with Marvin Coleman before the game and actually caught a few punts with him warming up. And when I told him that I used to return punts at about 56 my rookie year with no blocking, he kind of looked at me and shook his head and said, yeah, I didn't want to do that.
Now you were a little before the Giz. What did they call you? The Wiz? For those punt returns?
They called me Slow-Mo.
Stampeders scrimmage at their own 35.
There was a knack to it. You picked out the first guy and dived between his legs so he'd land on you, and then the other guys would hit him and take all the shots.
Pee Wee Smith. A 5-yard gain. Glenn Suter, the Saskatchewan safety, in on the tackle.
5-yard gain.
Touch of that dive technique.
Steve Molnar.
Yep.
Old fullback in Regina. Hey, how about Pee Wee Smith? He's still looking for his first touchdown. Played 7 games. He's the only receiver that doesn't have one yet.
2nd down and 5. Calgary
8 receptions for 167 coming in. Couple of catches tonight. Gain of 5 previous play. 2nd and 5 Stampeders. Calgary at the 40-yard line. Good fake by Flutie. Now here comes the charge away from Jurison. Flutie on the run. And Getz got a hand on that one. It was intended for Tony Stewart, number 21.
47 on Getz.
Well, they tell us in Regina, and it's not hard to see that Ron Getz is their best linebacker, their most mobile linebacker. And you have a look at him right here, 47. He has to go out and try and stay with Tony Stewart. Does a pretty good job. Well, there is no place to throw. That's why Doug Flutie threw it away.
Getz is the Riders' leading tackler with 32 and tied with Larry Ruck of the Eskimos for combined tackles in the CFL with 38. Martino in again. The average has moved up a little bit. Sailed a great one right down to the 1-yard line. A little bit earlier, this one angled toward the sidelines as well. Ulmer will have a play. And a little room to run, then he lost the ball, and I think the Stampeders have come up with it. Alondra Johnson knocked it loose. And it might have been Roger Reinson, number 31, recovering the fumble. Any way you look at it, it's Stampeder ball, and they don't need many more points than they have now. Ray Ox said you need a little luck to beat the Stampeders. His Roughriders have had very little tonight.
Yeah, Alondra Johnson, watch him come flying into your picture, and he just strips that ball loose from Terrell Ulmer. Roger Reinson, a rookie linebacker from the University of Calgary Dinosaurs, right there, to yet get another Calgary turnover.
And it looks like it'll be the end of the line for Doug Flutie, who will take a well-deserved rest. Steve Taylor into the ball game. Stats on Taylor on the season so far, 7 of 17.
You know, Doug Flutie hates coming out of games, especially when they're having a good night, but I truly agree with this call by Wally Buono. Hey, game well in hand, 41-8. Why not give Steve Taylor some playing time? You never know. And he doesn't get a lot of it, so in a game like this is a pretty valuable experience for him.
Taylor saw action in 11 games in 1993. And he's in pretty good shape right here to begin his first drive of this night. 1st and 10. Stampeders at the 36. Tony Stewart has been running wild all night. And he's on another tear inside the Saskatchewan 15. Dale Joseph, number 21, finally got over to make the stop on Stewart. Numbers on Flutie, not bad at all. 23 of 33. A couple of touchdown tosses, and he ran the option into the end zone twice.
Very workmanlike performance for Doug Flutie tonight. I don't think he got one hit on him either.
No, unscathed. Carried into the end zone once and then optioned off for Stewart on the other running touchdown. Another Calgary first down. Taylor looks to the end zone and can't find Stewart, number 21.
Taylor looks to the end zone.
Suter over to
for number 21, Tony Stewart.
Get close to Stewart.
Flag down.
Stewart has 118 rushing yards. Penalty being assessed.
Roughing the passer. Saskatchewan number 79. Half the distance. First down.
Gary Lewis.
You'll see Steve Taylor initially wants to hit Brian Wiggins quick. He can't. Now he has to backpedal, try and get out of the pocket. And boy, just as he lets the ball go, 98 LeBrian Robinson gets the hit, and Gary Lewis finishes him off to get the roughing call.
So that's half the distance to the goal line, setting Calgary up at the Saskatchewan 7 with 11:33 to play in the fourth quarter. First and goal, Riders 7-yard line. Stampeders leading 41-8. From the backside, out of the safety blitz by Glenn Suter.
Steve Taylor gets buried in the backfield. Safety blitz led by Glenn Suter, number 27.
Steve Taylor, you know, that's a good thing to do to a guy that doesn't have a lot of playing time. Come with that safety blitz, and here comes Glenn Suter off the corner, and really there's not enough bodies back there to protect for Steve Taylor, and the element of surprise really captures him as Glenn Suter gets in and gets the sack.
Second and 17. Stampeders move back to the 17-yard line after a 10-yard loss. Taylor just barely got it away. Saplanges was the intended receiver, and Taylor got hammered in the Stampeder backfield.
Third down at 17.
So you want to be a quarterback?
Yes, sir, I sure do.
Well, here's what happens sometimes. Steve Taylor trying to hit Saplanges, and Ray Bernard, middle linebacker, coming on the blitz, and he absolutely tattoos Taylor.
Quarterback's the star.
Yeah, he's taking, well, yeah. He's taking a couple of shots on that drive.
Into a third down situation, and that brings in Mark McLaughlin.
24-yard attempt for Mark McLaughlin.
Perfect on the night. Almost perfect on the season. Hitting an 83% of his field goal tries coming in this evening, only missing 2. And he's 3 for 3 tonight. McLaughlin adds to the Stampeder total as the Saskatchewan Roughriders fall behind 44-8.
Tuesday, they could sure use Ken tonight.
Yeah, Vic, while we're talking about the Roughriders, my good buddy Tom Shepard, who is the chairman of the Touchdown Lottery 94, asked me if I would pass along this message that tickets are now available for that. Just call the Rough Rider office. There's 550 ways to score with this Touchdown Lottery. In fact, over $550,000 worth of prizes are available. So if you like lotteries, grab a ticket.
Sounds like a pretty good plan. We'll be in Saskatchewan for the Labor Day Classic against the Blue Bombers. Look forward to that. And another time count violation. That's 4 tonight, 2 each way.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan number 63. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And of course, the Eskimos and the Stampeders here on Monday, September 5th. 6th annual Players and Coaches' Wives Food Bank Drive on that particular day.
Yeah, I wonder which new teams are going to be involved in Labor Day Classics. I know we've got Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, which we will do on TSN, and there's always Toronto and Hamilton. Those are some of the great Labor Day rivalries.
Intercepted. Touchdown. Finley has the touchdown. Will Johnson batted it into the air, and Finley had no problem finding the end zone as the Stampeders hit 50. 15-yard touchdown for Matt Finley. Assist, Will Johnson.
Well, I think it's only fitting that the defense sharing the limelight tonight. They have played so well throughout 1994, and the key performers always is Will Johnson, the horse. My, oh my, it is going to be tired. Will Johnson will get in, and he will get right into the face. You see, number 51, Chris Burns, cannot stay with him once again. The ball is tipped, and who's there to get it? Matt Finley, 37, the captain of the defense, and he gets the easy touchdown.
And the lone man back was Warren Jones, taken out by Johnson. And it was a free ride to the end zone from 15 yards away for Matt Finley. It's now 51-8. Stampeders in front of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Stamp said they weren't seeking revenge for a loss on opening night in 1994. Well, if they weren't, they certainly have found some.
Calgary Stampeders is happy to supply a free car wash for everyone in Section G, Row 3. Section G, Row 3. Congratulations. And thanks to Gary Roberts. Service Master, the official run and locker room cleaners of the 1994 Calgary Stampeders. Satisfaction guaranteed.
Great play. Way to go blocking there. We go, Shane.
Hey, man. That's a team effort right there. We're coming to Toronto next week. My mom, dad, boys, coming to Toronto next week to see you there, baby.
Matt Finley has his second CFL career touchdown.
Yeah, Captain Matt. Now we'll let this thing roll just a little bit. Watch to the right of your screen, and well, here he comes. Freeze it right there. Here comes old Matt, the captain, and he's going to come in here. He's going to meet his buddy Will Johnson, who you're going to see right there. And then the tip is created. Matt Finley will not get an easier trip in the end zone than this one right here.
Yeah, the quarterback is left all by himself.
Yeah, good luck, Warren.
Yeah, tough luck. Good luck. And it was easy from there. Stampeder kickoff. A Rough Rider return. This is Ulmer. Away from two tacklers, but he's swarmed at the 35-yard line. And Raymond Biggs, number 44, again leading the way for the Stampeders on special teams. Stampeders scored just 6 in the opening quarter on a couple of field goals, 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, 2 more in the third, and 10 points here in the fourth. 51-8.
John, I just understand attendance tonight at McMahon Stadium, over 29,000 people. So what does that tell you for lifting the blackout?
Yeah, it's good news, isn't it?
Yeah, it's encouraging. There they are. They've had a great time, and why not? Their team is ahead by 43 points, and there's still over 8 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
Jones finds an opening on first down, and he's near the 40-yard line, about halfway to the first down. Well, maybe not quite halfway. They're spotting it about 3 yards upfield for a gain.
4-yard gain.
Stampeders scored 5 straight victories after fumbling away game 1 to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're on the verge of their 6th straight win here tonight. Jones on 2nd and 7 and fired that one into the turf for Don Narcisse on the far side.
Don Narcisse is short and incomplete. 3rd down.
Stampeders scored 59 against the Blue Bombers, and that was a team record. Came back and scored 62 against BC the week after that to beat the team record. And then only 25 and 30 points against Ottawa and Sacramento in victories over the past 2 weeks. They seem to be back into that number around 50 tonight.
No, it's funny. You try and give Doug Flutie a few different looks, and Saskatchewan certainly tried to do that early, but you know, when the rosters are announced as they were yesterday, Flutie knows right away that he's going to see 6 and 7 defensive backs, and so are his receivers. So already, way before the game starts, they're thinking, you know, how can we go against that kind of a defensive package? And for them to come out, you know, the new look tonight really wasn't something they could overcome. And that's what Wally Buono, John, said about this team. Why they're so good year after year is because they have more experience and we can adjust so fast.
2-yard return here.
Well, a game within a game. Special team play. Hey, that's a pretty good job by Greg Fears to, as they call, mirror his man all the way down the field. And you certainly see the frustrations of Terrell Ulmer. He knows that the other guy did a good job. He's just not willing to accept it.
1st and 10 from the Calgary 29.
Stampeders at the 29-yard line. First down. Steve Taylor at quarterback. Vince Danielson in for Dave Sapunjas. Taylor looks for Pitts. And yes, sir, there is a flag down. Pitts was spun around. Suter was in the area, but who spun Alan Pitts around?
Well, enough contact was created by Anthony Drawhorn that they will call it.
Forward pass interference. Saskatchewan number 7, deliberate foul, first down.
So deliberate foul means that the ball goes to where the infraction occurred, not just a 10-yard penalty. Tough night for the Saskatchewan secondary. there's so many bullets in the Calgary gun, and you just don't know which one you're going to get hit with play after play.
1st and 10 at the 48.
Already out to the 48-yard line of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 7:10 to play. Stampeders into a 51-8 advantage right now. Tony Stewart reversing, spinning around, and he's got himself better than 5 yards.
Tony Stewart, number 21, the ball carrier.
Stopped by Sean Brantley, number 96, in the middle of that Saskatchewan defensive line.
The thing I like about Tony Stewart, and I know Wally Buono appreciates that too, is that he is sneaky strong. You know, he's 6'1", he's well over 200 pounds, about 206, and it's that great upper body strength that complements some pretty quick feet. And boy, very quickly he is becoming that all-purpose back that Calgary really wanted.
Stewart again on 2nd and 5, and he's a little short of the first down.
Stewart with the call once again, straight into the heart of the line.
Now you take that point one step further with Tony Stewart and his running abilities. At this time of the year, it doesn't matter maybe quite as much. Calgary's offensive aerial attack is so good, but boy, come October and November, when it gets a little colder and you have to maybe grind it out, that's when Tony Stewart's going to show his worth to this team.
Tony Stewart is leading the Canadian Football League in touchdowns. Coming into the game, he had 9, 6 rushing and 3 receiving. Adding 1 more tonight on the rush, and he is at 10 touchdowns on the season.
Number 13, Mark McLaughlin will attempt a 50
Mark McLaughlin has a perfect night going. He'll try this from 51. And 1 more for McLaughlin. That's his longest of the season, 51 yards. He's 4 for 4.
Yeah, he nailed it. Nice soft finger on the ball by Doug Flutie. That's what you want to do as a holder on the long kick, is don't press down too hard. And Flutie gave him the nice hold, and McLaughlin absolutely nailed it.
Mark McLaughlin has 5 straight 200-point seasons.
That's not a great snap either. Whoa. That was a soft finger. Hardly held it at all. I can't believe McLaughlin caught it so square.
51 yards. McLaughlin and Flutie combined for 3 more points, and it's 54-8. Calgary leading Saskatchewan. Warren Jones. Palmer makes the reception.
He has got all the confidence back in his game. 12 touchdown passes, only 3 interceptions. What a terrific ratio that is. And we'll see him tomorrow night.
2nd and short, and Saunders has the first down across the 50-yard line for the Roughriders.
Talking about Tracy Hames, got some nice receivers to work with down there. Chris Armstrong, former Edmonton Eskimo. Sean Beals, former Calgary Stampeder. Walter Wilson, Mike Pringle, the running back. Those are a lot of weapons on one offense in Baltimore.
Gain of 6, 1st and 10 Roughriders. Just trying to make it respectable now. Jones has Narcisse, and that'll be a first down inside the 35-yard line. Well, Narcisse a little quiet in the first half, but in the second half, he's the most active Saskatchewan receiver. 27 yards on that, 4 catches for 71.
John, I'm not sure if you mentioned it already, but that is now 115 games with his catches tonight. That he has a consecutive game streak going. Means every game that he has ever been a Rough Rider, he's caught a ball in. That's quite a remarkable feat.
It really is. In lots of 1,000-yard seasons, safety blitz was coming. Riders get a completion far side to Larry Thompson.
And you just see right there what's missing from the Rough Rider offense. I mean, they hit the pass on the safety blitz, but it's underthrown just enough that Larry Thompson can't really field it cleanly and run with it. I mean, he had a chance maybe to make a move and go all the way, but the pass just being short enough, they only get, like 9 yards out of it.
Saunders on 2nd and a couple, and let's see how and where they spot the ball. Roger Reinson in playing a little defense in relief of one of the Calgary regulars. Reinson, born in Melville, Saskatchewan, grew up in Regina, went to Campbell Collegiate, and likely was a big-time Saskatchewan Rough Rider fan until he became a full-time Calgary Stampeder. It is a first down, Rough Riders at the 23. Jones on target again down to the 10-yard line. And Larry Thompson has another reception with a timeout at McMahon Stadium in Calgary into the final 3 minutes here, with the Stampeders in control, leading 54-8 on CFL Live. Jones has come in relief of Tom Burgess and put the only Saskatchewan points on the board. Engineered a pretty impressive drive, but it came a little bit late. And now, Jones and the Roughriders are 1st and 10, Stampeder 11. Warren Jones standing in, now has time to run, and heads to the end zone, touchdown! Just got his right hand across the goal line, and Warren Jones is in for his first touchdown of the season. Roughriders have only scored 11 touchdowns so far this season, at least offensively. Against Calgary in the win in week 1, there were 2 defensive touchdowns. Another look at Jones here.
Pretty good decision by Warren Jones with man-to-man coverage. Everybody's taken off, so there's a natural lane that is created, and pretty good effort here to fight his way into the end zone the last couple of feet. Face masking penalty by Kenny Walker could have been called, but that didn't keep Warren Jones out.
And conquered by Dave Ridgway is good. Score the Stampeders 54 and Saskatchewan 15.
So the Roughriders have 15 on the board now, compared to the Stampeders 54.
Dan Payne 57, turning Kenny Walker to the inside and held him just long enough there. I really didn't mean held him. I mean stopped him long
Slowed
enough.
him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dan doesn't hold. We all know that.
Rough Rider head coach Ray Yock on patrol on crutches after his knee injury last week at Taylor Field against the Edmonton Eskimos. Simply standing on the sidelines, and he got bowled over. Not a bad drive, although it's a little bit late in the game, and the Stampeders have slackened their defense a little bit. 8 plays, 75 yards. And Warren Jones into the end zone for his first touchdown of the season.
Yeah, really, it's a tough time to play defense with such a large lead. You want to play soft and kind of want to just get this game over. It's going to be a win, and want to get in the locker room and without any threat of injury. Warren saying, I can't believe I was able to pull 3 guys over and get into the end zone.
Wiggins has to take this one on the run, lost it. Bouncing inside the 5, and Brian Wiggins starts back. He's hit. Nailed by Bernard. Ray Bernard, number 95. And Bernard looks to have gotten the worst of it.
Well, it's the old adage, sacrifice your body. Ray Bernard coming as hard as he can, and you're going to see an awful collision coming up right here. Helmet to ear hole.
Bernard is still down, and Wiggins is already back in the huddle.
It's hard to believe Brian Wiggins got up as quickly as he did.
Bernard has been well rated by the Saskatchewan coaches as he won a starting role this year.
Oh, one more look at this one. An awful collision between Ray Bernard and Brian Wiggins. Brian Wiggins only 5'11", 183 pounds, but he really does absorb quite a shot.
Play. And the Stampeders would be happy to just run it down from here. Steve Taylor in relief of Doug Flutie, who's just taking a rest. Taylor to the far side. It'll be a first down to Alan Pitts. And Pitts gets it down to 2:07. Ray Yock, a 2-time coach of the year with the Edmonton Eskimos in 1970 and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 1980. Won the Grey Cup here, 9-8 for the Eskimos over the Montreal Alouettes back in 1975.
I remember the game.
It was cold.
Montreal with a chance to win the late field goal. Don Sweet.
Yeah, it was Don
the snap, and that was it.
Don Sweet versus Dave Cutler on that one. That's the newcomer, Vince Danielson, number 88, getting a chance to play.
Trying to think of who the holder was in that game. Was it Jimmy Jones?
Jimmy Jones?
I believe it was. Awfully cold day. Streaker and everything.
Yeah, there was a streaker. And her name was Whitman.
How do you know that?
I just remember that.
11 yards.
I'm going to quit this one right now. I'm not going to ask any more questions.
First and 10 from the 45. Minute 59 on the clock. Taylor escapes, and he's to the 50. Doug Flutie, a very satisfying night for the Stampeders. Well, the owners again, and his 6th straight victory for Calgary.
Yes, the only quarterback in CFL history to throw for 6,000 yards twice. And I'd say he has a good shot to do it 3 consecutive years.
He adds 311 to his total on 23 receptions in 33 attempts and a couple of touchdowns tonight. Second and 5 for Taylor. And he tries to escape. Will he? Not this time. What a nice tackle. Peter Miller tracked him down, number 91. Miller had 3 sacks last week. He gets 1 late tonight.
Former 7th round draft choice in the Canadian draft. Not too many of those guys usually ever get to make a roster, but Peter Miller persisted and found himself in the starting position 2 years after the draft. He looks a lot like Ray Bernard.
25-yard loss as Miller heads to the sidelines. 3rd and 30, and the Stampeders set to kick it to Saskatchewan for what could be the final sequence of this night at McMahon Stadium. 54 on the board for Calgary, 15 for the Roughriders. Turnovers cost Saskatchewan 24 points. Ulmer on the return, and he's out of bounds far side. Guano approaching his 56th regular season coaching victory. His record will be 56-22-1. And that's a pretty impressive percentage, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, it sure is. I had a great time with him yesterday. We watched some film of Baltimore, their game a week ago against Hamilton, and was truly impressed with the knowledge that he has both offensively and defensively, and his understanding of the game is just amazing.
2-time Coach of the Year. He's the defending champion. 92 and 93. Into the final minute now. Safety blitz was on. Elgard makes the catch and pitches it out to Boyko. Toss from Warren Jones. Elgard had a very quiet first half in particular.
A frustrating night for Ray Elgard. Got off to a slow start. Calgary intent on really taking him out of the game with jamming him up. Even there you see Pope with the good hit, and Ray Elgard able to spin to the outside, and now the fun starts. Little pitch. Now try and get a block. But for Elgard, it just never materialized early, and that became a storyline of this game as well.
Saunders makes the catch far side and then gets up and belts the tackler. It was Kenton Leonard. Larry Rickman, the Stampeders owner, hoping to get a commitment from the city and the stadium by September 15th. And a not bad commitment from the fans tonight with 29,000 on hand, blackout lifted. Well, I thank the Stampeders for that, Charlie.
Yes, I think the fans of Calgary are very aware that this is not a bluff or a ploy by their owner to possibly seek a better alternative. And I think they're showing their support.
Saunders again broke through for a first down. He's inside the 45. 22 seconds left on the clock. This was the headline in the Calgary Herald. Headed by Murray Raw yesterday.
Well, it's the September 15th deadline, and, you know, there's so many reasons that go into that decision. Marketing for 1995 and the logistics of all that kind of stuff, that's what he has determined as his cutoff date for making a decision. We will see what unfolds in the next few weeks.
Will Johnson gets another sack. That's 2 on the night, 6 on the season for Will Johnson.
You know, chatting with Will Johnson yesterday, I said, you've had a remarkable career, so many sacks, so consistent. You must be pleased. He said, I'm not pleased, because he said, I can always play better. He says, I'm always hurt. And I said, but Will, you know, very rarely do you get a chance to play at 100%. He said, yes, I know that, but I set my sights at very lofty goals. And I thought that was a pretty impressive statement.
I understand he was at 100% yesterday on the golf course. 100% of the balls out of bounds or lost.
A golfer, he is not. We had a lot of fun, and I'll tell you, these Calgary Stampeder players, they give a lot back to this community here in Calgary to help out, and I think they should be complimented and recognized for it.
Final play of the ball game. It's all over for the Roughriders. One final toss. One more for the stats board, but it comes up short of the first down. Elgard made the catch, made 10 yards. But Stampeders were all over the Roughriders in this one. Brightest light for Saskatchewan tonight. The play of Warren Jones in the